I'm working on something. Go away.
Oh, are you speaking into that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Like running into it?
Yes. It's going to be a phone call. Okay. Check, check. Well, let me kick this off. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the official first ever version of the live Bullshido Podcast stream. I'm your incompetent host, Sub Messenger. We should have some people joining us here shortly. Give me a few minutes while I work on fixing all of the stuff that I need to make this happen.
Luxury, for so long, has meant impeccable design and precision. But modern luxury is redefined. It's technology that affords us flexibility in life, while still refined in beauty and complex in craftsmanship. Introducing Flex on Black, created by the leaders in flexible eyewear, mastered by experts in form and function. Premium design, exceptional engineering, unrivaled durability. Flex on Black.
Into insurance companies and then having insurance companies build their profits by saying no to coverage. We're going to do this by saying everyone is covered by Medicare for All. Every health care provider is covered. And the only question here in terms of difference is where to send the bill.
Senator Sanders.
Let us be clear, Joe. In the United States of America, we are spending twice as much per capita on health care as the Canadians or any other major country on earth.
This is America.
Yeah, but Americans don't want to pay twice as much as other countries. And they guarantee health care to all people. Under my Medicare for All proposal, when you don't pay out of pocket and you don't pay premiums, maybe you have run into people who love their premiums. I haven't. What people want is cost-effective health care. Medicare for All will save the average American substantial sums of money on his or her health care bill.
Senator Klobuchar, you said in your opening statement you want to represent the people stuck in the middle of the extremes. Who represents the extreme on this stage?
I think you know that I don't agree with some of these proposals up here, George. So I'm talking about if I could respond to some of the proposals from my friends. First of all, Senator Sanders and I have worked valiantly to bring down the cost of pharmaceuticals. That was a Klobuchar-Sanders amendment to allow for drugs to come in from less expensive countries like Canada. We have worked to bring down the cost by fighting to allow 43 million seniors, that's a bill I lead, to negotiate for better prices under Medicare. I figure that's a lot of seniors and they should be allowed to get a better price. But when it comes to our health care and when it comes to our premiums, I go with the doctor's creed, which is do no harm. And while Bernie wrote the bill, I read the bill. And on page 8 of the bill, it says that we will no longer have private insurance as we know it. And that means that 149 million Americans will no longer be able to have their current insurance. That's in 4 years. I don't think that's a bold idea. I think it's a bad idea. And what I favor is something that what Barack Obama wanted to do from the very beginning, and that is a public option, a non-profit choice
We are
that
live.
will bring down the cost of insurance, cover 12 million more people, and bring down the prices for 13
my
million
computer
more
locked
people.
up big time.
That is a
I just
bold idea.
fixed it. Let me call you back on, let me message you and have you call me back on the computer instead of my phone.
All right, cool.
All right, bye.
What current health insurance?
149 million, excuse me.
So let's be clear about this. People will have access to all of their doctors, all of their nurses, their community hospitals, their rural hospitals. Doctors won't have to hire people to fill out crazy forms. They won't have to spend time on the phone arguing with insurance companies. People who have sick family members won't have to get into these battles. What this is about is making sure that we have the most efficient way possible to pay for health care for everyone in this country. Insurance companies last year sucked $23 billion in profits out of the system. How did they make that money? Every one of those $23 billion was made by an insurance company saying no to your health care
Mayor
coverage.
Buttigieg.
The problem, Senator Sanders, with that damn bill that you wrote, and that Senator Warren backs, is that it doesn't trust the American people. I trust you to choose what makes the most sense for you, not my way or the highway. Now, look, I think we do have to go far beyond tinkering with the ACA. I propose Medicare for all who want it. We take a version of Medicare, we make it available for the American people, and if we're right, as progressives, that that public alternative is better, then the American people will figure that out for themselves. I trust the American people to make the right choice for them. Why don't you?
Senator Sanders, 45 seconds.
George, you talked about, was it 150 million people on private insurance? 50 million of those people lose their private insurance every year when they quit their jobs or they go unemployed or their employer changes their insurance policy. Medicare for All is comprehensive health care, covers all basic needs, including home health care. It allows you to go to any doctor you want, which many private insurance company programs do not. So if you want comprehensive health care, freedom of choice regarding doctor or hospital, no more than $200 a year for prescription drugs, taking on the drug companies and the insurance companies, moving to Medicare for All is the way to go.
Senator Harris, you started out co-sponsoring Senator Sanders' bill. You now say you're uncomfortable with it. Why?
I want to give credit first to Barack Obama for really bringing us this far. We would not be here if he hadn't the courage, the talent, or the will to see us this far. I want to give credit to Bernie. Take credit, Bernie. You brought us this far in Medicare for All. I support Medicare for All, I always have, but I wanted to make the plan better, which I did, which is about offering people choice, not taking that from them. So under my Medicare for All plan, people have the choice of a private plan or a public plan because that's what people want. And I agree we shouldn't take choice from people. But here's the thing. Everybody on this stage, I do believe, is well-intentioned and wants that all Americans have coverage and recognizes that right now 30 million Americans don't have coverage. But at least 5 people have talked, some repeatedly, on this subject. And not once have we talked about Donald Trump. So let's talk about the fact that Donald Trump came into office and spent almost the entire first year of his term trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. We all fought against it, and then the late, great John McCain, at that moment at about 2 o'clock in the morning, killed his attempt to take health care.
Back.
15 seconds.
Let me get to Congressman O'Rourke and then go ahead, Mr. Vice President.
15 seconds. Look, everybody
So
says
joining
you
the
want an
podcast,
option. The option I'm
we have
proposing is
Pandina.
a Medicare for all, Medicare for choice.
What's up, y'all?
If you want Medicare, if you lose the job from your insurance company, from your employer,
I had
you
to switch back and
automatically
forth
can
between
buy into
the
this.
president's
You don't
speech
have no
and
pre-existing condition can stop
the
you from
debate.
buying in. You get covered.
Oh, what was the
Period.
president
And
talking
if you
about?
notice, nobody's
Oh,
yet
you know how wonderful
how much
everything
it's
is.
gonna cost
Oh, yeah,
the
of course.
taxpayer. I hear this.
Yeah, water quality in Detroit or something, right?
Yeah.
Thinks that the employer is going to give you back if you
And how great our
negotiate
planes
union
are
all
now
these years,
because they all
got
work.
cutting wages because you got insurance. They're going to give back that money to the employer.
Boy, I came on board listening to these guys talking about Medicaid. They're fighting over Medicaid for all and
Senator Sanders.
Obamacare, blah blah blah.
Yeah, you know, I joined kind of late, and I'm surprised at like the frenetic pace that they're going with this debate. Like, this is not what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, and it's because we're getting closer and closer to like the polling, right? So everybody is trying to make their name and everything else out there. And the problem is that man, you got a lot of people who just don't want it.
People will not go into financial ruin because they suffered with a diagnosis of cancer.
What's her face had a good dig a minute ago before you were able to join. She said, "You know, Bernie, I know you read the bill, but I wrote it."
No, yeah, you wrote the bill, but I read it.
Can automatically become part of this plan.
That's what she said.
They will not go bankrupt because of that. They will not go bankrupt because of that. They can join immediately.
Oh, that's what she said?
Yeah, it says you may have wrote it, but I read it.
Oh, that's even better. Wow.
Mm-hmm. I've been there. You've been there. You know what it's like. People need help now, hope now, and do something now.
Congressman O'Rourke.
Yeah.
I hate O'Rourke.
Thank you. Listen, I'm grateful that we all agree about the urgency of this challenge and the fact that Donald Trump is undermining
he lost
the
to what's his face,
that we
right?
have right now.
He lost to Cruz, right?
Cruz, yeah.
Between those who propose an all or nothing gambit.
Yeah, and in
forcing
fairness, it
tens
was
of
actually,
millions
kind of
insurance that they like that
scarily
works for them,
close.
Force them on Medicare.
Yeah.
And others who want to, as the vice president does, incrementally
because of the
improve what we
blues moving
have,
over to
which will
Texas,
still
that's
leave
why.
many, maybe millions.
Yeah, it's all the
uninsured
Californians
and
we got
uncared
here
for.
now.
In a state like Texas, we're the largest provider of mental health care
They
services.
screwed up their state,
is the
they're coming
county
here.
Jail system.
Yeah,
We've
that's
gotta do
just
better.
I just
And
don't
my
understand how
proposal,
stupid people
Medicare
are. Hey,
for
we
America,
really
says
hate
everyone
it.
who's
This is what's
uninsured
happening over
will be
here, but we're
enrolled
gonna move over
in
here and we're just
Medicare.
gonna make it
Everyone
just
who's
like that.
insufficiently insured, cannot afford it, can move over to Medicare. And those like members of unions who fought
I'm
for their
gonna
health care plans that work
vape
for
a little
them
bit here
and their
before it
families are
becomes
able
legal.
to keep them. That is the best possible path forward.
This is the top issue for everyone in the country. I want to make sure everyone gets 1 minute to respond. So, Senator Secretary Castro, Andrew Yang, and then Senator Booker, you all get in there.
Thank you. And, I also
Yang.
recognize the work that Bernie has done on this.
I hate Castro.
We
I pretty much hate all of them.
to President Barack Obama.
They're all
Of course,
idiots.
I also work for President Obama, Vice President Biden, and I know that the problem with your plan is that it leaves 10 million people uncovered. Now, on the last debate stage in Detroit, you said that wasn't true when Senator Harris brought that up. There was
Which is crazy because 20 years ago I was a diehard Democrat.
I grew up with a grandmother.
Which is crazy because we have 20 million illegal immigrants. And 10 million people are uncovered.
I want every single American family
But
to
those immigrants will
have
get covered.
a
Those
strong
illegal
Medicare
immigrants will get
plan
covered.
available. If they choose to hold on to strong, solid private health insurance, I believe they should be able to do that. But the difference between what I support
Yeah, we
and
heard
you
that
support,
before.
Vice President Biden,
I
is
loved
that
when
you
Biden
require them
goes,
to opt
if you
in.
like your insurance,
And
you
I
can
would
keep
not
your
require them to
insurance.
opt in. They would automatically be enrolled.
It's like, yeah, we
They
heard
wouldn't
that
have to
bullshit
buy in.
before.
That's a big difference because
Right? That was
Barack
him
Obama's
and
vision was
Obama.
not
That
to
was
be
one of their big
people uncovered.
selling
He
points at
wanted
the beginning
every
of
single person in
their
this country
their
covered.
first term.
My plan would do that. Your plan would
They
not.
do not have to buy in. They do not have to buy in.
You just said that. You just said that 2 minutes ago. You just said 2 minutes ago that they would have to buy in. You said they would have to buy in.
To buy in. If she qualifies
Are you forgetting what you said 2 minutes ago? Are you forgetting already what you said just 2 minutes ago?
Look at Biden act.
I can't believe that you said 2 minutes ago that they had to buy in, and now you're saying they don't have to buy. You're forgetting that.
Said anyone like your grandmother who has no money.
I'm going to try and bring BKR in here, so I'm going to turn down my mic for a moment.
Alright, I'm going to go change my batteries in my vape before it becomes
If you
illegal.
lose your
Yeah,
job,
yep.
for instance, his healthcare plan would not automatically enroll you. You would have to opt in. My healthcare plan would. That's a big difference. I'm fulfilling the legacy of Barack Obama, and you're not.
I'll be surprised to him.
Andrew Yang.
This is why presidential debates are becoming unwatchable.
Yeah.
This reminds everybody of what they cannot stand about Washington. Scoring points against each other, poking at each other, and telling each other that you're my plan, your plan. Look, we all
that's called the Democratic
No, you moron. That's exactly why we're watching right now, is to watch you guys snipe each other.
This is what we're here for. It's an election.
Yeah, but a house divided cannot stand. And that is not how
Look, everyone, we know we're on the same team here. We know we're on the same team. We all have a better vision for healthcare than our current president. And I believe we're talking about this the wrong way. As someone who has run a business, I know that our current healthcare system makes it harder to hire people, makes it harder to give them benefits and treat them as full-time employees. You instead pretend they're contractors. It's harder to change jobs. It's certainly harder to start a business. The pitch we have to make to the American people is we will get the healthcare weight off of your backs and then unleash the hopes and dreams of the American people.
Senator
Now,
Booker.
I am Asian, so I know a lot of doctors, and they tell me that they spend a lot of time.
I'm Asian, so I know a lot of
paperwork,
doctors. That's
avoiding
great.
being sued and navigating
How is that even a statistic?
change the incentives so instead of revenue and activity,
Now, I'm Asian,
people
so I
are
know a lot of
focused on our
Filipinos.
health in the healthcare system. And the
I'm
Cleveland
Asian, so
Clinic,
I know a lot of
they're
nurses.
paid not based upon how many procedures they prescribe. Shocker, they prescribe fewer procedures, and patient health stays the same or improves. That is the pitch to the American people.
Senator Booker, close out this discussion.
Thank you very much.
Man, we should have had a
Look, there
drinking
are a
game
lot of
set
people
up like
watching at
Crowder.
home right now listening to us that are afraid.
You know, I was going to watch him this evening,
They are in crisis. They don't
and I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to try this live stream thing, so let me just see if I can get that rolling. So that's why we're here now.
clear in what I believe. I believe
Listen to this moron, Spartacus here.
I believe it's the best way to rationalize the system. But
Isn't he like under 1% right now?
On this stage is in favor of
Oh, I have no idea where his numbers are.
comes at this with
That's
the best of
the wonderful thing about the
And I'll
internet.
tell you, there is an urgency right now in this nation. Everybody
Yeah, I could
feels
just look it up.
As a person who has
That's what
an
I'm doing right
ideal,
now.
I know we cannot
We could pull it up
sacrifice
on screen.
progress
Oh,
on the
look at
altar
that.
of purity. Because
Cory
people in my
Booker, right?
community, They need help
Yeah.
right now. They have high blood
Oh, you know what? I
pressure
just go to
right
like
now. They have unaffordable insulin right now.
Real Clear
And
Politics,
this
right?
must be a
Go
moment
here.
where we as Democrats can begin to show that we can not only stake and stand our ground, but find common ground.
He's not even
because
on the list.
We've got one shot
Are terrible in the latest
to become
2020 poll.
a one-term president, and we cannot lose it by the way we
Why is he up there
talk about
wasting
each other
oxygen?
Or demonize and degrade each other. We can walk and chew gum
Well,
at the
you
same
know,
time.
they have to
If I'm
have
the leader, I will
they have to have a
work towards the
minority
ideal of
candidate.
health insurance,
What's
health
wrong with
coverage for
the Asian
all
guy?
Americans, but every single day,
He's not a minority.
Democrats
I mean, he's a serious minority. What are you talking about? And then look at they also have Kamala. I think she's black today.
Lindsay Davis.
Thanks, George. Since we're here at an HBCU, I'd like to start with young black voters. Several recent polls indicate their number one concern is racism. This campus, this state, and this nation are still raw from that racially motivated attack on Latinos in El Paso. Now, we know that the racial divide started long before President Trump and President Obama, but each of you on this stage has said that
I should
President
break out
Trump
my
has
vape
made
stuff.
that divide
I haven't done that in a couple years.
Congressman O'Rourke, coming to you first.
You know, I make my own coils and everything.
Yeah, I used to do that too, and I got bored with it, so I just started
I
buying
called
them
this
again.
out in no uncertain
Yeah, I still got
terms
like 500
on
foot of
August 3rd,
Canthal, so.
and every day
Yeah, I got
since
that.
then, and I was
I
talking
just
about
actually pulled it down
long
during
before
the
then as well.
during the hurricane scare. I was like, I guess I gotta make coils. I
We
can't
can
buy
mark the
it.
creation of this country not at the 4th of July, 1776, but August 20th, 1619, when the first kidnapped African was brought to this country against his will and in bondage and as a slave, built the greatness and the success and the wealth that neither he
Sorry,
nor
I'm
his
typing in the background here. I
descendants will ever
didn't
be able to fully participate
have the
in
good sense
and
to turn my
enjoy.
mic down.
We have to be able to answer this challenge, and it is found in our education system, where in Texas, a 5-year-old child in kindergarten is 5 times as likely to be disciplined or suspended or expelled based on the color
What's he
of their
talking about
skin.
kids about?
In our healthcare system,
I just
where
read that
maternal
story where he's
mortality
talking about
crosses
running kids
3
over with
times
his
as
car.
deadly for women of color, or the fact that there's 10 times the wealth in white America than there is in black America. I'm going to follow Sheila Jackson Lee's lead and sign into law a reparations bill that will allow us to
A
address the
What?
state's foundations.
That's great.
But we will also call out the fact
So we're gonna pay the great grandchildren of slaves.
Yeah, yeah.
across this country.
Yep, I was trolling Kempo Fist's Facebook about the reparations. I said, "Hey, how do you feel about paying reparations?" He goes, he said something about his grandparents came over because he's not. That doesn't apply to him.
A few weeks ago,
I was like, "I'm sorry, bud, but you're white. It applies to you."
I was inspired by this president to kill people who look like me and people who look like my family. White supremacy is a growing threat to this country.
Oh yeah, because you know he looks totally like someone the KKK could go after, right?
Yeah.
A police reform plan, because we're not going to have any more Laquan McDonald's or Eric Garners.
Oh, that's great. So we're first off, we're gonna change it so that we don't have to worry about these white supremacists, but then we're gonna file down the teeth of the people that would actually go in towards the gunfire, the police.
They also need a leader to match that, and I will be a president.
Well, you know the police are evil. They're only there to kill people that are not white.
The best thing about that's happened is the cameras. They're wearable cameras. Because it showed 90% of the time it's all BS.
Courage for calling him that. Racism exists.
I'm a huge proponent of body cameras and cruiser cameras.
About racism. And this is not just an issue.
Yeah, it's definitely exonerates them more than anything else.
They can't condemn white supremacy.
It saves everyone, right? So you know it's like an impartial witness.
And it's nice to go all the way back to slavery, but dear God, we have a criminal justice system that is so racially biased. We have more African Americans under criminal supervision today than all the
Yeah, I can't fault them for that. That is absolutely true. But that has a lot to do because social economics issues, not racism.
If I am president of the United States, we will create
If
an office in the
you hear that, he's already known he loses. He said if.
and hate crimes, and we will make sure.
No, that's a good point. Like if you look historically at some of these debates, especially when they know that they're basically the shoe-in, they start saying when I'm president, not if I'm president.
Yeah, he definitely just said if.
Mayor Buttigieg, you've been struggling with issues around race
Buttigieg.
in the community.
So
You've also said that anyone who votes to re-elect
There's another. You saw the meme of Buttigieg there going around with eating meat, a hamburger, and drinking out of a plastic straw.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that was funny.
That's pretty much the hypocrisy of the Democrat Party. Do as I say, not as I do.
Right, and they're flying around on private jets and.
It will be with us. That's why we need a systemic.
Just like how everybody after Al Gore came out with Inconvenient Truth and blah blah blah, which all never came to be, by the way.
get better on
you
their
know,
own.
his house
Harms compound.
consumed
In the same
3
way that
times the amount of
dollars
electricity
saved
the
per
average
hour,
household did. But
so
it's
does
okay,
dollars stolen.
and he
And
flies
we
around
know
in
that
jets.
the
But it's okay because he
generational
buys
effect
carbon
of the
credits.
descendants of slaves is part of why
He
everything
pays into
from
carbon
housing
credits.
to education
He
to
plants
health to
trees.
employment basically puts us in 2 different countries. I've proposed
And he's got
the
a
most
huge house. It's like
comprehensive vision
15,000
to
square
tackle
foot or
systemic
something
racism
in
in
Tennessee.
every one of these areas. Marshalling as many resources as went into
then
the Marshall Plan to rebuild
The other
United
piece of
this time a Douglas
great
plan that we
hypocrisy.
invest right here
World's
today.
going to end in 12
To make
years. You need to do
sure
something
we're
about
not only
climate control.
dealing with
But
things
hey, I'm going to go buy a $15 million mansion right off the beach here in
raising
the
to
Hamptons.
25% the target for the federal government to do business with minority-owned businesses, investing in HBCUs that are training and educating the next generation of entrepreneurs. We can and must do that, but
Yeah, you know, pretty much has happened with listening to the Democrat debates. It's what I'm going to give to you guys, what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do for free, blah, blah, blah. Nothing's for free.
displaced auto worker is a single black mother of
Nothing ever is for free.
Right. None of this is leadership. All of this is just handouts. That's all they're talking about.
Yeah,
This
it's all
is the
pandering.
handout I'm going to give to you.
It does contradict some
It's
of
all
your
pandering.
prior positions. Among them, you used to oppose the legalization of marijuana.
Oh, did you hear about Kamala?
You used to oppose outside
Her
investigations of
record and
police
everything was expunged from the website
You've
after
said
she
that you
got
changed
torn
all
up
these
by
nominations
what's her
because you
face,
were,
by
quote,
Tulsi.
swimming against the current and
No, I
hoping
missed
the
that.
currents have changed.
Yeah, they took
But
down
when
all
you
of her
had the
cases
power,
and all that. It was harder to
why didn't
find,
you
you know,
affect change
her
then?
cases that she did is when she was district attorney or whatever it was, or attorney general, however she was over there in California.
Well, that seems like some sort of violation of the people's right to know, right?
I'm sure you
It's
can
some
still
sort
get it if you do a Freedom of Information Act. However, they just made it harder to find.
And second, I was born knowing about how this
Oh, listen to her. Listen to this. Let her lie about how she was one of the first ones that was busted around. No, that turned out to be false. That turned out to be a lie. But since the news is so left-slanted, that wasn't widely reported.
I would try to do it from the inside. And so I took on the position that allowed
Drain
me,
the swamp.
without asking permission, to create one of the first in the nation initiatives that was a model and became a national model around people who were arrested for drugs and getting them jobs. I created one of the first in the nation requirements that a state
On tonight's
law
episode of
enforcement
I Hate
agency
America,
would
more
have to
dumb
run
ideas and
cameras
promises
keep
of
them
free
on
stuff.
full time. I created one of the first in the nation trainings for police officer on the issue of racial bias and the need to reform the system. Was I able to get enough done? Absolutely not. But my plan has been described by
That's true.
activists as being a bold and comprehensive plan
Sure.
that is about
Bold and
ending mass
comprehensive
incarceration,
plan.
about taking the profit
I
out of the
snorted.
criminal justice
Sorry.
system. I plan on shutting down for-profit prisons on day one. It will be about what we need to do.
Okay, so I'm okay with for-profit prisons, right, run by the private sector. I don't think the Democrats are okay with that. So that's interesting to hear her say.
Well, let me tell you something. I've seen how the government runs healthcare firsthand in the VA hospital. You're all fucking crazy if you think it's going to get any better.
And get this job complete.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Senator Klobuchar.
I'm not going to get beeped for that. This is a podcast where it can curse, right?
Yeah, we're live, so so whatever. Like, we're already demonetized, so we can pretty much say whatever the fuck we want, as long as we don't, go so bad that we're going to get taken off the air.
Do you wish now that you had done more?
That's not my record.
So I have
We are here
so
at
my
historically
my
black college.
cousin's husband
And I think of an alum of
is
that college, Barbara Jordan, and something that she
former
once said. She
infantry,
said,
and
"What
he's
the
got a whole
people
bunch of health
want
problems, and
is simple.
he has
They
just
want
had
a country as good as its promise."
actually,
That same can be said of the
to
criminal
be said,
justice system.
like,
So when I was
it's
there,
been kind of
the way we
50-50.
handled
So he's had
these
some really good
shootings,
experiences
I
at the
actually
VA,
took
and he's had
this
some
thing
really
to
shitty experiences at
make
the
sure
VA.
outside investigators handled it.
Unfortunately, the really good experiences of the VA have come in the last, 2 years or so, after the really bad experiences that he had at the VA, which probably exacerbated his condition to the point where he needed to keep going back.
Prosecutor handles them and makes those decisions herself. That
Well,
aside,
let me tell you.
I am proud of the work our staff
I'm
did.
part of a
400
large
people in our office. The cases
Facebook
that
group
came
of
to
South,
us
the
after
Florida
American community
veterans,
came to us, they said there was no justice for their little kids.
and it's
There was a
every
kid
day
named Byron
we have to
Phillips
have a
that
lawyer
was
go
shot
talk
on
to
his front
somebody to
porch.
get their
No one had bothered to
service-connected
figure out who did it.
coverage,
When
blah
I
blah
came
blah,
into that
fight
office,
for
we worked with the community groups. We put
It's
up
unbelievable.
billboards. We found the
Literally,
shooter,
the
and we
VA
put him in
hospital will
jail.
tell you that
We did
knee
the
injuries
same
are not
for the
covered
killer of a
because,
little girl named
had nothing to do with
Tanisha
you being in the
Edwards, who was doing
military.
her homework at her kitchen
Of course, your
table
average
and was
infantryman
shot
carries
through the
anywhere from
window.
90 to
What
120
changes
pounds
did
of
we
gear
make?
everywhere they
There were
go.
collar crimes
Right,
in a big
and
way.
is running 10 miles a day at
Diversified the
least.
office in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
Worked
They're
with
humping it.
the Innocence Project to make
But
sure
hey,
we
knees
do
have
much
nothing to
better
do with
with
it.
eyewitness ID. And as a senator and as your president, I will make sure that we don't just do the
You know,
first
later
step
in the year,
back
so I
when
wanted
it
to do
comes
this
to
like 2
criminal
years ago,
sentencing, that we
but I
move
just
to the
got
second
really,
step
really
back,
busy
which
with
means
work during the
that
day. But
90% of people that are incarcerated in local
I
and state jails,
I
let's
started down
reduce
the
those
road
sentences for
of
nonviolent offenders,
becoming
and
a
let's give them
volunteer at
jobs and let
the
them
local
vote when
VA,
they get out of prison.
and so I do want to pick that back up again. And hopefully, you know, my work schedule is kind of changing up here in the near future. So if it does, then I'm gonna definitely tackle that because, you know, it's like you got people that are running the system that they don't know what it is to be a veteran.
A big time law firm.
Well, they also have people in there who were veterans who are tied. Their hands are tied because they have to deal with their guidelines. And you know, full disclosure, my mother was director of mental health for a VA hospital for years. And I mean, some of the stories I heard and everything else is just crazy.
Have to lend where they operate, etc. The fact of the matter is that what's happened is that we're in a situation now where there are so many people who are in jail and shouldn't be in jail. The whole
there's a truth to that. There is a truth to that.
The whole model has to change. We should be talking about rehabilitation. Nobody should be in jail for a nonviolent crime. As when we were in the White House, we released 36,000 people from the federal prison system. Nobody should be in jail for a drug problem. They should be going directly to a rehabilitation. We build more rehabilitation centers.
I gotta agree with him there.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna 100% disagree. You know, we can dissect that a little bit. You know, I'm a big fan of like prisoners' rights and you know, making sure that because, you know, like our country was founded on the principles of the fact that you know, the government can throw you into prison for whatever they want, right? And like as the little guy, you really don't have a lot of recourse. So that really shaped a lot of our fundamental law. And, you know, I really take that to heart. And, you know, so my heart definitely goes out to people that are in prison. Definitely if they're in prison for something that they didn't do. But, you know, even if they're in prison for like minor offenses and stuff like that. The problem comes where, you know, so what they're talking about is what Biden was just talking about was, you know, hey, if you're a nonviolent crime, you shouldn't be in prison. Well, but if you're a nonviolent crime, you did commit the crime and you do need to, you know, handle the restitution involved. And if you're unable to do so financially, what else are they going to do with you except for to put you in prison? Right? So that's, you know, so I don't know. It's kind of like 50-50 for me.
If 87 members of the United States Senate says that these sentences are way
all right, so I'm going to try and bring this other
and
guy
we
in here.
changed
Hold on
it
just a
where
minute.
we
I'm going to
can make it
turn down my mic.
We could literally point to the people that are in jail unjustly right now. Everyone on this stage should say that we are going to give clemency to these 17,000 people. And I challenge you, don't just say big statements, back it up with details of the people in prison right now looking for one of the most sacrosanct ideals of this nation, which is liberty and freedom. We need to reform this system, and we must do it now. Every day we wait is too long.
Thank you, Lindsay. I want to turn to the deadly mass shootings here in this country, and of course we are all mindful tonight of where we stand. We are here in Texas
we're ringing him
tonight,
in,
where
so
29
he'll show up here, and if he does, then I'll grab
last
him.
month alone. El Paso, which we've discussed in Odessa, and I know there are survivors from El Paso.
Oh, man, they're not even hiding anymore. Yang
President Biden,
literally offered a bribe to the American people. You know, they're not even hiring it and hiding it anymore.
20 of them children. Those
I'll
first
pay you,
graders will be
I'll
in
pay
8th
you.
grade today.
Vote for me.
At the time, there was a groundswell in this country to get something done. President Obama
Oh, hey.
asked you to lead the push for gun control.
Do we have a
You
BKR?
have often pointed to your
Yeah,
ability to
I'm
reach
here.
across the
Can
aisle
you hear
to
me?
get things
Yeah,
done,
we
but
can hear you
4
fine.
months
Can
after
you hear
Senate
the
vote, a measure to require
idiot
expanded
moderator
background checks
talking?
died on the Senate floor.
I
If you
certainly
couldn't get it done
can.
in the
Yes,
Senate vote, why should
I
voters
thought it was an
give you
ad or
choice?
something at first, but I guess
it, trust me, it is an ad.
One big, huge freaking ad.
All right, so Pandina, BKR, Pandina. I mentioned before, BKR is a judo black belt. Jiu-jitsu, you're a blue belt, or did you get your purple yet?
I'm no longer training in either one of those, but I am a blue belt. Yes.
Okay. Well, once a blue belt, always a blue belt. That's what I say. I've been doing it for 10 years.
You're a blue belt. It's burned into your soul.
He's also a recovering geologist, and I guess we would call him sort of kind of law enforcement without going into any detail.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm not a sworn officer, but I do stuff like that.
Nice.
Period.
Ooh, assault rifles off the street.
Out of their basements. So the point is, things have changed, and things have changed a lot. And now what's happening is, and by the way, the way
Is that like a Mussolini old thing in the background, or what?
Nah.
Oh, look,
Booker there?
look at Booker with Zig Heil.
You think they would at least have a piece of mind to put up the left arm instead?
See, okay, I can turn my volume up here. I'm so deaf. Oh, there we go. That's better. Okay, now I can hear.
So let's talk about the assault weapons bill that they had, the Democrats put in that went out of the sunset in 2006. It did absolutely nothing to deter violent crime, and the evidence that it stopped any type of crime is like
They said, I'm going to issue an
is
executive
open
order
to like so many different. It depends on which side of the aisle you're on. You know, it's just unbelievable.
Well, I thought violent crime has been dropping overall for the last, since the mid-90s anyway.
Some things you can. Many things
So,
you can't.
Let the senator answer.
what I've seen is that there's not really much correlation between what they did. Certainly the assault weapons ban back in the 90s didn't do anything, so.
Let's be constitutional. We got a
And yes, we can, because I'll tell you something. The way that I think.
So are you talking about this new thing that they passed, or these new 3 things that they passed yesterday or whatever?
I have attended more police officer funerals.
Me, no. No, I was talking about. Who, me or BKR?
Well, no, I was talking about you, Pandina.
No, I was talking about the. I was sorry. I was listening to the fucking back and forth between these two morons.
Oh, yeah. We should probably do that.
I'm trying to go off of that.
There's only one reason to disarm the public. Only one. That's to be able to control the public. And that goes against everything our founding fathers stood for.
They have to hide in a closet or crouch in a corner if there is a mass shooter roaming the hallways of their school.
This is great. This goes back to all the treating the symptoms and not the cause.
Look, she's almost in tears here.
Oh, wait, is that the Democratic debate you got in the background?
Yeah.
Okay, no wonder I was getting nauseous.
No, that's what we're talking about. So I got that on the live stream. Unfortunately, you probably can't see the video.
Oh, somebody talked to Booker. Put up the left arm now.
I'm good.
Well, so he's ambidextrous. So, I don't know whatever things he might be bi about, but he could definitely use both hands.
So I haven't looked at the details of the thing they passed in the House.
What I said was, the question, speak to constitutional scholars. If in fact we could say, by the way, you can't own the following weapons, period. It cannot be sold anymore. Check with constitutional scholars.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
He couldn't even complete a thought. He just went back to the beginning.
for guns in this country. You've gone further. You said, quote, Americans who own AR-15s and AK-47s will have to sell them to the government.
I'm going to sell them.
You know, the critics call this confiscation. Are you proposing taking away their guns, and how would this work?
I am. If it's a weapon that was
You dumbass, they're all designed to kill.
It's certainly got any firearms that won't kill. Even my air gun will.
Exactly. Hell, some of those air guns are like 800 and 900 feet per second now.
Where's that damn squirrel?
Not be able to get up and kill one of our soldiers. When we see it being used against children, and in Odessa, I met the mother of a 15-year-old girl who was shot by an AR-15, and that mother watched her bleed to death over the course of an hour.
Here's the...
So many other people were shot by
Jesus Christ, listen to this.
in Odessa.
First off,
ambulances to get to them in time. Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15,
yeah.
AK-47.
Well, he just definitely killed it for the Democrats. There's no way in hell.
Is that Beto?
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord.
There's no way in hell that we're going to get a Democrat president. You don't go after guns. That's such an integral part of the United States and its citizens. Even there's Democrats.
Well, you have 120 million gun owners in the United States.
And that's conservative.
You have 120 million legal gun owners in the United States. So saying that you're going to take their guns away basically puts you out of the running. It doesn't matter what party you're with.
Yeah.
Well, this doesn't make any sense. So you say, okay, you can't have an AR-15. So you're still going to kill people that don't have weapons on them. It doesn't matter.
I so appreciate what the congressman's been doing, and I want to remind people here that what unites us is so much bigger than what divides us. Everyone up here favors.
Yeah, well, you had it already. That's the wonderful thing about the older
magazine limitations, which, by the way, would have made a huge difference if that was in place.
No, it wouldn't have. No. Because you're talking like so the dude in Parkland was in the news today saying what's his face, the frickin' idiot congressman was saying if we had 10-round magazines instead of 30-round magazines, then maybe some lives would have been saved. Well, no, really, you're saving like maybe 1 or 2 seconds for every 10 rounds.
Exactly.
And it was 150 rounds that this guy fired in 6 minutes. So really, you're talking about 20 to 30 seconds maybe. So 17 dead. So maybe it would have been 16 and a half dead. I don't understand how that math works out in these people's heads.
You have to look at it from the point. These people, they talk from what they're told and not from experience. I mean, the reason why Parkland shooter ultimately ran away is because he's gun jammed, right?
Ted Deutsch, that was the guy's name, right? Ted Deutsch. Yeah, that guy's an idiot. He was my friggin' congressman forever.
And then,
to pass a background check, they would have to obtain a federal license to buy a gun. This would require, as you know, Congress to pass legislation.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I'm just listening to this because this is really important to me, this part.
And can you name one Republican colleague of yours in the Senate right now who would be on board with this idea?
So background checks and gun licensing, these are agreed to by overwhelmingly the majority of Americans. 83% of Americans agree with licensing.
So that means that the gun I gave my son?
Look, I grew up in the suburbs. It was about 20
Makes
years
it illegal.
ago that I came out of my home when I moved to inner city Newark, New Jersey, and witnessed the aftermath of a shooting. It's one of the reasons why shooting after shooting after shooting in neighborhoods.
Did he just bring up New Jersey, who has like some of the most draconian fucking gun laws in the state and the country?
For gun licensing. And I'm happy that people like Beto O'Rourke are showing such courage now and coming forward, and also now
but he can talk because he's less than 1%.
But this is what I'm sorry about. I'm sorry that it had to take issues coming to my neighborhood or personally affecting Beto to suddenly make us demand change. This
Did he
is
just
a
think of
crisis
himself in the
of
third
empathy
person?
in our nation.
He's got, when I was reading about him, he made up some fake guy, Leroy or something, that he grew up with. He was a gangbanger. Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah. When he was pushing for senator or whatever it was.
I had a busy day today. I wasn't reading a lot of news.
Nah, that's an old one. Book is a moron. They're all morons. They're up there to listen. Ultimately, what they're doing is to go up there, become some type of focal point. So when they do get out and they're out of their job there, if they don't stay in and make their millions and millions, they can go out and still be somebody who can influence peddle.
Yeah.
Look what happened to the Clintons. Once she lost, people were like dropping left and right, sending money to them. Ow.
Careful there.
Yeah.
Bring a fight to the NRA and the corporate gun lobby like they have never seen before.
NRA. NRA's helped more black people in its existence than you have, Cory Booker.
Cory Booker's black?
Well, I think he is.
He identifies that way.
Just like Sean King, he's black. From Black Lives Matter, he's a black guy. People mistake him for not being black, but he's actually black.
Exactly the point.
I'm just going to put a disclaimer there. I can talk like this because I'm a person of color.
Well, I'll shut up then.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you guys a story. So,
Hey,
Trump first got
red is a color, and I'm a redneck, so.
There you go. That's a color.
Yeah.
When Trump first got elected, one of my friends, a dear friend from high school, who, is doing wonderful, but she's a diehard Democrat, left the whole thing. Her Facebook just got lit up. She's very much into, the left side politics and this and that. And I had one woman on there, one of her friends, say, if you listen to Brett Bart, if you read Brett Bart, listen to Milo, you do all this, you're a racist. And I'm like, what? That's right, you're a white supremacist, you're a racist. I'm like, how in God's name in this day and age, when you can just click my picture and see that I'm not white, and calling me a racist? I mean, if you really even delve, all you have to find out is my kids are, part black. I'm like, this is unbelievable. But, they all talk to each other and they keep that because it's an echo chamber.
Is when we've got this much support across the country, 90% of Americans want to see us do.
No, we don't. 90%? Did you hear this shit? They just throw numbers out. 90%, 98% went by that. No. No.
And the answer is corruption, pure and simple.
No, the answer is
I agree. Yeah. All these corrupt motherfuckers on stage right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unless we're willing to address that head
How much money are you worth there, Liz Warren?
Oh, yeah. Worth a couple of million at least, if I recall correctly.
20-something million dollars, something like that?
Well, Nancy Pelosi, how much is she worth? And then there's her husband.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, look at Biden's son.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Mr. Ukrainian deal, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
We can't get gun reform in this country. We've got to go straight against the industry, and we've got to change Congress.
Just to change Congress. You're part of that Congress.
So it works for the people.
Thank you.
Right, and actually she's going to have less power over what Congress does and doesn't do as president.
I want to turn to Senator Sanders on this, because you've said before of this, if Donald Trump supports ending the filibuster, which he's talked about himself, you should be nervous. Would you support ending the filibuster?
No, but what I would support absolutely is passing major legislation, the gun legislation that people here are talking about.
See, here's the thing that the founding fathers.
Saves the planet. I will not wait for
Whoa, hold on. I missed that because I think you talked over it a little bit. But did he just say that gun control saves the planet?
Yeah, but then again, eating people saves the planet too.
appropriate and what is not, what is in order.
Dude, there was a science story that I saw today about some friggin' idiot, I don't know, in Brazil or something like that. But he's like, some sort of biological scientist, and he said that the way to curb global warming is to become cannibals.
Fossil fuel industry determining.
I haven't eaten yet today because I do that 1 meal a day thing, and as soon as you start talking about eating people, my stomach growls.
I wouldn't eat any of these fuckers right here.
I am proud that year after year I had an F rating.
You ever read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Mm-hmm. The restaurant at the end of the universe when they bring out the live cow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the... Oh, how many flags do we have up?
A lot about what's
this moron.
In Texas. Only a few weeks ago, the deadliest massacre of Latinos in modern U.S. history happened in this state, in El Paso. So the fear among Latinos, and you know this, is very real. So let me start with an issue that is causing a lot of division in this country, immigration. Vice President Biden, as a presidential candidate in 2008, you supported the border wall, saying, unlike most Democrats, I voted for 700 miles of fence. This is what you said. Then you served as vice president in an administration that deported 3 million people.
Oh yeah, they definitely don't want him to win.
Did you do anything to prevent those deportations? I mean, you've been asked this question before and refused to answer, so let me try it once again. Are you prepared to say tonight that you and President Obama made a mistake about deportation?
Oh no, it's a mistake.
Okay. Well, maybe some of them were, but surely not all of
This
them.
president to the president we have is outrageous. Number one, we didn't lock people up in cages. We didn't separate families.
What?
We didn't do
What?
all
That's a
that.
total lie.
Number one.
That's
Number
a
two,
bold-faced lie.
This is the president who came along with the DACA program.
He probably
No,
doesn't
we've
even
done that
know.
before. This is the president sent legislation to the desk saying he wants to find a pathway for the 11 million undocumented in the United States of America. This is the president who's done a great deal. So I'm proud to have served with him. What I would do as president is several more things because things have changed. I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come. I would change the order that the president just changed, saying women who were being beaten and abused could no longer claim that as a reason for asylum. And by the way, retrospectively,
But that's not what the order says. What the order says,
Congress has not reauthorized,
and that has been upheld in the courts now, right? So what he's just talking about right there is that there was a reversal of part of the immigration law, which they're calling it the
Secretary Castro.
like genuine harm or something like that, right? So basically what that says is if you're so beaten up in your own home country and you have to cross over 1 or 2 or 5 or 7 countries to get to the U.S. to ask for asylum, you should have asked for asylum in one of these other places. You should have asked for safety and refuge just because someone was trying to kill you. Right? So if you're going across 7 countries to get to the United States of America and then saying, oh, well, someone was trying to kill me 7 countries ago, and you didn't ask for safety from any of those transitory countries, then we're not going to honor your request for asylum. And so it does make a lot of sense. Now, granted, a lot of the intermediary countries don't really have great records on human rights either, but you got to ask for help, right? So, you're not going to fly to, you're not going to get on a plane and fly to China and say, save me, unless you're, I don't know, Julian Assange or something like that.
I was the first candidate in early April to put forward an immigration plan. You know why? Because I'm not afraid of Donald Trump on this issue. I'm not going to backpedal. I'm not going to pretend like I don't have my own vision for immigration. So we're not going to give up DACA. We're not going to give up protections for anybody. I believe that on January 20th, 2021, we're going to have a Democratic president. We're going to throw out Mitch McConnell and John Cornyn and have a Democratic Senate and a Democratic House, and we're going to pass immigration reform within the first
because
100 days.
again, this is the same thing you said earlier. So he believes we're going to have a Democratic president. He didn't say, I believe I will be president.
All 8 years, good, bad, and indifferent. That's where I stand.
Ooh, I got a free pizza available to me right now from Domino's.
Okay, Senator Warren, hundreds of children have been separated from their parents at the border, and recently in Mississippi we saw the largest immigration rate in a decade. You want to replace ICE, the agency in charge of rounding up undocumented immigrants. So how would you deal with the millions of immigrants who arrive legally but overstay their visas? And how would you stop hundreds of thousands of Central Americans who want to migrate to the U.S.?
Right, free pizza.
I start with a statement of principles, and that is, in this country, immigration does not make us weaker. Immigration makes us stronger.
Oh.
I want to see
Legal
us
immigration
expand
makes us stronger.
legal immigration and create a pathway to citizenship for our dreamers, but also for their grandparents and for their cousins, for people who's overstayed student visas, and for people who came here.
Wait. Yeah. So I want to pass for legal immigration for all of the people that are asking for it, but also for all of the people that are already here that aren't asking for it.
We've got to rework this entirely. A system right now that cannot tell the difference in the threat posed by a terrorist, a criminal, and a 12-year-old girl is not a system that is keeping us safer, and it is not serving our values.
Mr. Yang.
We need to add one more part on this, because I think we have to look at all the pieces. Why do we have a crisis at the border? In no small
we have a crisis at the border now?
Yeah, right? Crazy.
I thought there wasn't a crisis at the border. Now it is.
Restore that help.
Crazy how that
We need to
is.
help establish and reestablish the rule of law so that people don't feel like they have to flee for their lives. We have a crisis that Donald Trump has created.
I was waiting for that. I knew it was coming.
Have the courage to stand up and fight.
Because we had absolutely zero immigration issues before Trump took office.
Measures from putting kids in cages to limiting asylum for people fleeing gangs and domestic violence. But it is also true that about 1 million immigrants enter the U.S. legally every year. So are you willing to raise the number of legal immigrants from 1 million to 2 million per year? And should there be a merit system, as President Trump wants?
So, yeah.
Should be a merit system.
Already said it. Okay. Sorry.
My father grew up on a peanut farm in Asia with no floor, and now his son is...
Oh, he's Jimmy Carter.
That is the immigration story that we have to be able to share with the American people. If you look at our history, almost half of Fortune 500 companies were founded by their immigrants or children of immigrants, and rates of business formation are much higher in immigrant communities. We have to say to the American people, immigrants are positive for our economic and social dynamism, and I would return the level of legal immigration
dynamism?
to the point it was
Is that a
under the
freaking
Obama
word?
Biden
I gotta look that up.
Dynamism.
Dynamism.
And I am the opposite of Donald Trump in many ways.
Wow.
He says build a wall.
I would have said
Look
dynamic.
at the big brains on Brad. I would not have guessed that that was a real word.
Dude, he's Asian. I don't know why you're arguing.
And this is where you want to build a company,
Fucking
build a
racist.
family, and build a life. This country has been a magnet for human capital for generations. If we lose that, we lose something integral to our continued success.
Why
and
are
that
they
is where I would
acting
lead as
like
president.
Alcalde Pete, tengo una pregunta para
nobody
usted.
will ever immigrate again?
Alcalde Pete, 8 out of 10 Latinos in Texas fear another mass shooting targeting them. This is according to a new Univision poll. President Trump has called Mexican immigrants rapists and killers, tried to ban
No, he
Muslims
hasn't.
from
No,
making
no,
the
he
law,
hadn't. That's
and
fake.
separated children from their parents. His supporters have chanted, build the wall and send her back. Do you think that people who support President Trump and his immigration policies are racist?
Anyone who supports this is supporting racism. Ese es
Listen to
racismo
that.
y es
Wow.
You just fucking just told half the country you're racist.
Yeah, throwing down the gauntlet. Yeah, that's good. That's going to get you elected.
We have an opportunity to build
Well, what's
an
he? He's not even
American
in the
majority
top five.
around
Not
immigration
even.
reform.
He's pretty
In my
much.
community,
I don't know why he's on here. When are they going to start getting these people down here?
No, look, he's got 4.8%.
Who was deported when he went into ICE to try to get his paperwork sorted out because they never thought it would happen to him. In some of the most conservative rural areas of Iowa, I have seen communities that embraced immigration grow, and it's why part of my plan for revitalizing the economies of rural America includes community renewal visas that would allow cities and towns and counties that are hurting not only
Look,
for
I'm
jobs,
all
but
for it. Listen, it has to be done properly, not opening up the gates. Look, I know for a fact that if we decide to kick out every illegal immigrant we have here in the United States, we pretty much grind to a halt. You know, we rely heavily on illegal immigration, and I think they are a viable part of the United States. But it has to be done right, and you know, it's not.
We cannot allow this to continue to be the same debate with the same arguments and the same clever lines, often among the same people, since the last real reform happened in the 1980s. We have to actually engage the American majority around the opportunities for not just growth in small communities, but our values of welcome, values of faith. That
I mean, look, let the leftists know exactly why we need them. I mean, what was that? Was that Kelly Osbourne? He said, who would do our laundry? Who would clean our bathrooms?
In an interview,
So having illegal immigrants here that work under the table or use other means of getting paid to bypass the IRS and stuff like that, that is institutionalized slavery. It literally is institutionalized slavery, because what you're doing is saying you're never going to be a real citizen here, and you're never going to earn as much as a real citizen, because you're getting paid under the table, so like minimum wage doesn't apply. You're not going to have Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, those kind of things are not going to be available to you. So basically, by allowing illegal immigration to continue, it is literally us enslaving an entirely new populace, and they're completely under the radar, and nobody even knows that they're there. They're unseen.
Yeah, that's what the illegal immigration is the serf class.
Voted to build a wall.
That's been going on for decades and decades anyway.
To join family or to work a job. That we have been part of deporting people, hundreds of thousands, just in the Obama administration alone, who pose no threat to this country, breaking up their families. Democrats have to get off the back foot. We have to lead on this issue because we know it is right.
But no one called Biden a bull-faced liar.
More than 1 million dreamers, make them U.S. citizens right now in their true home country, and extend that to their parents, their sisters, and their brothers. And
well, let's face it, the reason why they're really pandering to illegal immigration and making them citizens because they're increasing their base.
We're going to take a quick break.
Their
When we
voting
come
base.
back, national security, foreign policy, the impact on American jobs and U.S. troops.
I still can't believe that George Stephanopoulos can be like an unbiased member of the media. Like, that just makes no sense to me.
And now, right after the debate wraps, the candidates step into the spin room for their first
Ooh, boy, that was pretty intense, guys.
Wait, is it done?
No. Shit, we got 2.5 hours.
Oh, it's a good thing I ordered pizza.
No, this is just these are the front runners. We still got we got the idiot show that's coming up in half an hour or whatever.
David.
Oh man.
All right, let's mute this because we don't need to listen to the commercials.
Yeah. On the gun control issue, I just don't know what they think is going to happen when they outlaw these magazines. I mean, how many millions of 30-round magazines for AR-15s are floating around?
Look, I've got a closet full of them.
I mean, there are people that I know people that have got dozens and dozens of them. I personally don't, but
yeah, I mean, they're a consumable. It's not even it's not even a piece of gear. It's like a condom for bullets.
They're saying it's a high capacity. No, it's standard capacity.
Well, 30 rounds is, for an AR-15. I mean, those 100-round
100-round
rotary.
drums, yeah, that's a higher
That's
higher
high, yeah.
capacity.
Sure, I would say that's higher. I've owned Beta mags. I've owned those big ones. I mean, they're great. I mean, you sit there and you just rock that trigger. They're wonderful. But are they viable for anything else? Not really.
No.
They'll jam up just as quick, if not quicker, than your regular standard magazine.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. It's like for people who don't want to learn how to change mags. But there's just so many. If you go back, if you look at, we did it online. If you go look at the manufacturing numbers of AR-15s since 1996 or whatever, there's huge numbers of them. It's like insane.
Yeah.
And anybody that wants to get one under the table is going to be able to get one.
Forget getting one. You can build it yourself, for crying out loud.
Oh, yeah.
All you need is the proper spring, and you shave down the stopper that keeps it at 10, and then boom, you got a 30-round mag. They do it now. They do it for competitions. They got extensions for them.
Yeah.
I've got extensions for all my Glock magazines. For my Glock 17, for my Glock 34, they're all extended to 24 for competitions. I can't remember the last time I went into a competition in my AR that I didn't use a 40-round mag.
Yeah.
And just had a 30-round just as backup in case I missed something.
Yeah.
I remember a couple of years ago, I was at a gun show and somebody was selling these Glock mags that were like, I want to say they were like 50 or 70 rounds or something like that. They were like 2 foot long.
Yeah, I have one of those 32-rounders, right? And they're massive. And they weigh a ton. People forget that as well, too. Once you start adding that stuff, it's a heavier fucking magazine to carry than an AR magazine.
A good club when it's loaded.
Exactly.
I mean, 15 rounds of 40 and a Glock 22 weighs as much as the damn gun does.
Exactly.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
I have a chassis from a Glock 19 that I could put in and mix it into a larger pistol.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the 32 in that, and it weighs just as much as the Glock 19 and the freaking chassis do.
Well, and I think the original magazine was like they wanted the pistol magazines to 10 rounds, and I'm like, I mean, how crazy is that? So you've got 10 rounds and nobody else has a pistol or anything, not even a baseball bat. So it's a 10 or a 15 or a 20 round mag. It just makes no difference. Lots of people are going to get shot.
Exactly. And the other thing is, well, listen, I'm not saying your average, freaking psychopath who goes on, mass shootings is a trained individual, but
Right, yeah.
trained individuals can change their magazines within half a second.
Exactly.
For crying out loud, that's like the first thing you're taught when you're a competition shooter is learn how to change your magazine.
Yeah.
Without having to look down your belt, watch it go up, watch it go into the mag well. Granted, your regular moron psychopath's not going to be able to do that. But if somebody really wanted to, all they have to do is practice, and it becomes second nature. 10 rounds, 30 rounds, whatever. And you say that half second could save lives. Half second can have somebody run away. Well, I'm not going to argue that. That's true. Anything can happen in that half second.
Yeah.
But that's still, it's conjecture at that point.
So what I predict would happen is they're like, okay, no more AR-15s or AK-47s or 10 round magazines or whatever. Okay, they pass a federal law, whether that's even constitutional or not.
Right.
Not sure, but so then somebody commits a mass shooting with an AR-15 with a 10 round magazine, right? So now it's like, well, now what do you do? So how far down the line do you go? If you could magically make every assault weapon disappear, then people are going to use pistols, and they're going to use revolvers.
Well, that's
people
the
do use pistols. Like
the
85% of all of the mass shootings are committed using a pistol and not
handguns.
any kind of black rifle.
There's only a reason why they want the rifles taken away, and they want that taken away because that gives your normal average citizen the power to fight back. It does.
Yeah, I think that's to some degree. I don't even know if those blithering idiots on the debate even think that far. Maybe some of them do. I don't know, but it's not the way they're talking. They're just
Yeah, the pirated intellectual property that China has, which the Clintons gave them. Hold on, let's turn this back up.
But we have to let the Chinese know that we recognize that.
Let the Chinese know. Shut up. You're a goddamn, what do you call, Manchurian candidate yourself.
On both sides.
See how I use that double entendre there, Manchurian candidate? Because he's a chink? I mean, he's Asian. I could say that. I'm a
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah. Did you watch that Chappelle series? That Chappelle special on Netflix?
Yeah, it's probably the best he's done so far.
I haven't watched it yet. I keep seeing it. And I'm like, I really want to watch this.
You got to. The alphabet people part is like hilarious.
He'd like to see me making a deal with Xi Jinping. I'd like to see him making a deal with Xi Jinping.
Ooh, did you hear that?
Is it just me, or was that supposed to happen in like?
He'll probably do better than you, white boy.
One more example of a commitment not made. When that happens on the international stage, people take note. Not just our competitors, our adversaries, but also our allies take note of the inability of the United States to keep its word and follow through on its plans. And when that happens, there are serious consequences. We saw
Is it just me, or does he look like Mr. Bean?
the greatest powers and economies of the world. Sitting to talk about one of the greatest
Or I guess it would be Mr. Corn.
And there was literally an empty chair where American leadership could have been. The problem is, this is
I am the great Cornholio.
Give me TV radio. In Hong Kong, where those protesters for democracy need to know that they are friendly in the United States, or anywhere around the world where increasingly we see dictators throwing their weight around.
Frozen
the world
poop
needs
knife.
America, but it can't be
Like
just
China?
any America.
China's a dictator. Yeah.
Of course it is.
I would have a strategy that would include the tariffs as leverage, but it's not about the tariffs. Look, what's going on right now is a president who has reduced the
you
entire
should just see my
China
Facebook
challenge into
feed
a
right now.
question of tariffs, when what we know is that the
I
tariffs
see a little too much of your Facebook feed.
I don't know how people know. I mean, they just like totally. I mean, talk about. You know, their advertising being on point. Shooter lube. Fastest gun cleaning products on the market.
What he has done here, he has assessed these tariffs on our allies.
Facebook, are you listening to me?
He's put us in the middle of this trade
I'm sure
war,
it is.
and he is treating our farmers and our workers like poker chips in one of his bankrupt casinos. And if we are
Former
not
chief
careful,
prosecutor
he is
of
gonna bankrupt
Minnesota's
this country.
most populous county.
Recently says that it has
Right,
already
Zachary on
cost
his
us
way.
20,000 people.
jobs. All right. There is soybeans
I'll be right
that
back,
are
I gotta
mounting
go.
up in bins all
Give
over
my kid
the
money so he can
Midwest,
just
in
pay
my
the
state
guy
of
that's not the
Minnesota,
meter.
and in Iowa. So what I think we need to do is to go back to the negotiating table. That's what I would do. I wouldn't have put all these tariffs in place, and I wouldn't have had a trade policy where on August 1st he announces he's going to have tariffs on $300 billion of goods. On August 13th he cuts it in half. A week later he says he's going to reduce taxes. The day after that he says he's going to do it. The leaders of the world are watching this, and it undermines our strength as a nation. And yes, we want fair trade, but we must work with the rest of the world. And he has made
10
a
years ago, we
mockery
weren't
of
even
focused
trading with
trade
China.
policy, which I think means
So
enforcement,
if
like
there's
we've
such
done
a
in northern
danger,
Minnesota, passing bills, getting President Obama to do
then
more on
why
that,
did we
so that
open
our
up
workers
trade
can
with
benefit.
them
So we are
under
importing
a Democratic
goods
president?
and making sure that is a competitive policy where our goal is that we are making things, inventing things, and exporting to the world. He is defeating that goal.
Secretary Castro, you actually in one of the previous debates identified China as the most serious national security threat to our country. I want to pick up on what Senator Klobuchar was saying, that she said she'd go back to the
Nobody said
negotiating
Russia
table.
yet.
The question is, what do you do
Or if they
for
did, I
leverage?
missed it.
Where do you get it?
Well, look, I agree with those who have said that this erratic, haphazard trade war is hurting American families. As Senator Klobuchar said, 300,000 American jobs. It's estimated that it's cost $600 to the average American family. Just a couple of days ago, 60% of Americans said that they believe that we're in for a recession next year. So when I become president, I would immediately begin to negotiate with China to ratchet down that trade war. We have leverage there. I also believe, though, that we need to return to a leader when it comes to things like human rights. We have millions of Uyghurs, for instance, in China, that right now are being imprisoned and mistreated. And in North Korea, this president is elevating a dictator. We need to stop that. We need to return to ensuring that America leads again on human rights. When it comes to this trade,
Alrighty, I'm back.
I would immediately begin ratcheting that trade.
Recommends the lead on human rights, man.
Discussion.
So I would just say that $600, you know, that is impacting all of the American families. So maybe we could lift the federal taxes on gasoline.
Trade policy in America has been
Yeah,
broken
really.
That would be about $600 per family.
because it works for giant multinational
So,
corporations.
I just got my IKEA product here.
These are giant
Amazon.
corporations that
Order in.
should,
It's.
if they can
I
save
ordered a new
people
blood pressure
by moving a
machine,
job to a foreign
and I'm gonna
country,
use it
they'll
while
do
watching
it
this.
in a heartbeat. And yet, for decades now, who's been whispering in the ears of our trade negotiators?
I'd specifically buy one that had, bigger arm cuff.
It's been the giant corporations.
'Cause,
It's been
I'm huge.
their lobbyists and their executives. The way we change our trade
Hey,
policy
so
in
I'm
America
gonna
is
step
first
away here for a
procedures.
moment. I'll
Who
be right
sets
back.
the table? I want to negotiate
Okie
trade
dokie.
with unions at the table. I want to
Learn
negotiate
to
with
laugh.
small farmers at the table.
I can't even watch this shit anymore, really. It's starting to...
It's not even, there's so much garbage, it's not even,
And you ask
like
the question about
it's like
leverage,
one
if I
massive
just respond to
troll.
that one. The
It's like,
leverage, are you
but there's
kidding?
6 or 7 of them going at
Everybody
once.
wants access to the American
It's just to see who we can pander to the
That means
most.
that we have the capacity to say right here in America, you want to come sell goods to American consumers, then you
So I saw a great little meme that I posted. If white privilege existed, why did Elizabeth Warren pretend to be American Indian for so many years?
on a level playing field. We can use trade not to undermine
Some sort of
American
fantasy of hers, I guess. I don't know, man.
American farms and not
She's,
to undermine
don't make fun of her.
small
She's
businesses in
Lakota.
this country. We can use trade to help build a stronger economy.
Senator Harris,
Right. Nice. This is a nice screen, LCD and everything. Backlit.
First of all,
So I can do it in the middle of the
I
night.
have no criticism of that.
Your blood pressure
Looking
machine?
at where we are now, which is that we've got a guy in the White House who has been erratic on trade
So
policy.
the one I have now is
He
like
conducts
in the
trade
middle of the night. If I
policy
do it in the middle of the night, I'm like, hey, I wonder what my blood pressure is. After you
It has
flash,
resulted in
shit.
farmers in Iowa with soybeans
on one second,
rotting in
please.
bins, looking at bankruptcy. When we look at this issue, my trade policy under a Harris administration is always going to be about saying we need to export American products, not American jobs. And to do that, we have to have a
What the
meaningful
fuck?
trade policy. I am
Somebody's
not a
somebody's
protectionist
Skyping you
Democrat.
or something.
Look,
Yeah,
we
that was
need
my
to sell
Skype.
our stuff. And that means we need to sell it to people overseas.
People are
That
listening
means
to
we
you and they're
need
trying
trade
to cut
policies
in.
that
No, that
allow
was my
that
pizza
to
guy.
happen. You
Your
asked earlier
pizza
about
guy.
China.
On Skype.
It's a complicated
That's awesome.
relationship. We have to hold China accountable. They steal our products,
Fuck,
including
go
our
away.
intellectual property. They dump substandard products into our economy. They need to be held accountable. We also need to partner with China
How
on
many times
climate
did you
and
say
before I
that?
finish
Jesus
that
Christ.
sentence, we need to partner with China on the issue of North Korea.
Oh, I've had that.
And I think
I've
the
had that
others on
happen.
the
Like
stage,
Skype will
the Senate
freaking
Intelligence
crash on you,
Committee
and
the
it'll
Senate
just keep
Homeland
ringing and
Security
ringing
Committee.
and ringing
We
and
need to
ringing,
partner
and
on
you
the
can't
issue of
answer
North
it,
Korea.
and
But
you
the
can't
bottom
close
line
it.
is this.
You have to
Donald
reboot.
Hi, guys. Come on.
You have to
in
reboot.
office on trade policy. You know, he reminds me of that guy in The Wizard of Oz.
There we go.
You know, when you pull back the curtain, it's a really
I
small
opening up
dude.
on my computer and on my phone.
Okay.
So how horrible is the American economy doing right now?
It's actually doing really well.
Well,
they're trying to push the narrative that it's
Oh, it's gonna crash. It's gonna
Yeah.
crash because we have elections
In the
coming up.
last 45 years, the average
last
American today,
45
despite
years.
an explosion of technology and worker productivity,
We've been fighting an explosion of technology.
45 years ago. And one of the reasons is that for decades we have had disastrous trade policies. And I gotta say to my good friend
Well,
Joe
yeah, we have.
Joe and I strongly disagree on trade. I helped lead the opposition to NAFTA and PNTR,
Here we
which
go, I'm a
cost
blood
this
pressure.
country over 4 million
Listen to
good-paying
Bernie.
jobs. And what happened is people who had those jobs ended up getting other jobs, making 50% of what they made in manufacturing. So Trump obviously hasn't a clue. Trump thinks that trade policy is a tweet at 3 o'clock in the morning. What we have got to do is develop a trade policy that represents workers, represents the farmers in the Midwest and elsewhere who are losing billions right now because of Trump's policy.
No, because they're losing millions because of Obama's water cleanliness policy.
Well, my blood pressure is a little bit raised, 132/90.
Lucrative federal contract under Bernie Sanders. They got another guest.
Yeah. Well, look, we're either going to make the policy or China's going to make the rules of the road. We make up 25% of the world economy.
Dude, he totally
We need
Botoxed
another 25%
today.
to join us. And I think Senator Warren is correct. At the table has to be.
Oh, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting you guys are not watching the stream. You should like pull this up. This is the ABC. I can like send this to you guys.
Our intellectual property.
That's
problem
okay.
Is they're violating the WTO.
Or just turn on ABC News and mute it.
That's a different issue than whether or not they're dumping agricultural products on us. In addition to that, we're in a position where if we don't set the rules, we in fact are going to find ourselves with China setting the rules. And that's why you need to organize the world.
That is the smartest thing that anybody has said this entire debate.
That are underway.
Senator Booker, close out this round.
Sure. There's one point we're really missing on the stage right now, which is the fact that Donald Trump's America First policy is actually an America isolated, an America alone policy.
Exactly.
From trade to battling China to the global crisis of climate change, the challenges in the Middle East, he is pulling us away from our allies, out of the Iran deal, out of the Paris Climate Accords. And on trade, he's deciding to take on China.
Okay, back. Okay, probably not the best way to break a fast with the Domino's pizza, but
you literally have him
But it's definitely a yummy way.
to put tariffs on Canada.
Domino's pizza and a 2-liter of Diet Coke. Yeah.
But they are not a national security threat.
All I've done today is just eat. Is drink water. So
this is a president that has a better relationship
I'm eating
with
at 9:41 p.m.
like Duterte and Putin than he does with Merkel and Macron. We are the strongest nation on the planet Earth. And
wait, are we the strongest nation on the planet Earth, or are we? Are we like the worst? I mean, you guys can't seem to come to a consensus.
Well, yeah. So we are because Trump is president. Remember when Obama went on his great apology tour?
I want to turn now to our troops overseas.
So,
into
you know,
America's
what a
longest
difference
war in
a day
Afghanistan.
makes.
U.S. talks with the Taliban are dead, according to the president. Secret talks at Camp David have been canceled before they could happen. Many of you have weighed in on that already. So I want to move past that tonight to what all of you have promised on the campaign trail. Many of you on this stage have said you'd bring the troops home in your first term. Others have said in your first year. Senator Warren, we all know the presidency is much different from the campaign trail. President Obama wanted to bring the troops home. President Trump promised to bring the troops home. And you have said of Afghanistan, let's help them reach a peace settlement. It is time to bring our troops home, in your words, starting right now. Would you keep that promise to bring the troops home starting right now with no deal with the Taliban?
Yes. And I'll tell you why. What we're doing right now in Afghanistan is not helping the safety and security of the United States. It is not helping the safety and security of the world. It is not helping the safety and security of Afghanistan.
They have so much uranium and rare earth metals and rare earth metals in Afghanistan. It's a freaking it's a freaking resource. That's the reason why we're there.
So Afghanistan, geologically speaking, has huge resources. Yeah, from
just
rare,
lithium,
copper, you name it.
The lithium alone.
And that means we need to be working with all of our allies.
And that's why Trump was trying to make a bet on Greenland.
Our allies in Africa and in South America, we need to work together.
Greenland has, I think, 47,000 people that live there.
Economic investment. It means expanding
And we were willing to say, hey, we will absolve your debt to us and additionally pay you a whole bunch of money.
We need a foreign policy that is about our security.
It seemed like a good deal to
and
me.
about leading on our values.
Senator
But to become Americans.
Leaders, military leaders on the ground in
Well, we bought
Afghanistan,
Alaska
you
from
can't
the
do
Russians,
without a
so.
deal with the Taliban. You just
People
said you
forget
would.
that.
You would bring
People
it.
forget about Seward's folly.
Yeah, they do.
Right,
Because
yeah, good call.
people don't learn it anymore.
2 years ago, this past
Right?
summer,
Cuba belonged to the U.S. We won Cuba in the Spanish-American War.
Spanish-American War. We also won
we did.
the Philippines.
We talked to military leaders, American and local leaders. We talked to people on the ground. And
Probably
asked
Guam,
the
too,
question,
right?
Same one I asked on the Senate Armed Services Committee. Every time one of the generals comes through, show me what winning looks like. Tell me what it looks like. And what you hear is a lot of because no one can describe it. And the reason no one can describe it is because the problems in Afghanistan.
I'm gonna let you guys know I'm probably gonna eat this whole fucking pizza.
Fucking You're making me jealous. And you're making you fat.
And the best thing about this is I probably lost a pound of weight from today to tomorrow.
But we cannot ask them to solve problems that they alone cannot solve. We need to work with the rest of the world. We need to use our economic tools. We need to use our diplomatic tools. We need to build with our allies.
You gotta negotiate with the Taliban in Afghanistan? Yeah, right.
Not keep troops bombing in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I'll touch you.
I do want to stay on this, and I want to turn to Mayor Buttigieg, because you're the only veteran on this stage who served in Afghanistan. We heard in recent days from General Joseph Dunford, the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who
He's an
said,
intelligence analyst.
Well, yeah, he's a naval intelligence analyst.
Well, and apparently he did carry a firearm. I don't think he,
promise to bring troops home in the first year
I'm not going to put him down for that.
Well, so there's a requirement, right? If you're in a hostile territory, there's a general order that you should be armed.
September 12th, 2019.
Yeah, carry your fucking little
today you can
M9.
Be 18 years old.
That's gonna stop fucking
and have not been
AK-47
alive on 9/11. We have got to put an end.
But I mean, this guy is like,
and the way we do it,
4 seconds away from being Chelsea Manning.
That country will never again be used for an attack against our homeland, and that does not require an open-ended commitment of ground troops. Let me say something else, because if there's one thing we've learned about Afghanistan, from Afghanistan, it's that the best way not to be caught up in endless war is to avoid starting one in the first place. And so,
is that right?
We started that war, yeah.
Oh, yeah. There you
the
go.
use of military force will have a built-in 3-year sunset. Congress will be required to vote, and a president will be required to go to Congress to seek an authorization. Because if our troops can summon the courage to go
That's
overseas,
already
the
a
least our members of
requirement.
Congress should be able to do
I
is
thought
summon the
so.
courage to take a vote.
I think
on
it's called the
whether they ought to be
War
there.
Powers
By
Act.
the way, we also have a president right now who seems to treat troops as props, or worse, tools for his own enrichment. We saw what's going on with flights apparently being routed through Scotland just so people can stay at his hotels. I'll tell you, as a military officer, the very first thing that goes through your mind, the first time you ever make eye contact with somebody that you are responsible for in uniform, is do not let these men and women down. This
Oh, for fuck's sake.
You were a
You're an
fucking
intelligence
pencil
officer.
pusher. Shut the fuck up.
You were in a fucking secure, compartmentalized intelligence facility. You were so far from the fucking action. You were probably in the fucking other country.
Staff sergeants had more responsibility for the safety and welfare of their men than him.
Fuck, man, your fucking squad leaders did. You're fucking E4.
Get our combat troops out of Iraq. There was a major drawdown of U.S. troops, and then ISIS seized, by some estimates, 40% of the territory in Iraq.
Thank you, Obama.
Right, because we said, hey, we're going to leave. And then ISIS said, oh, cool. Free. Free shit.
That's what happens in a power vacuum.
Afghanistan question. I've been in
They could have left like one arbor battalion there and it never would have happened.
My friend.
Look what happened in Iraq.
I've been out of Afghanistan.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Anybody on this, and it's an open secret. You reported a long time ago, George, that I was opposed to the surge in Afghanistan. The whole purpose of going to Afghanistan was to not have a counterinsurgency, meaning that we're going to put that country together. It cannot be put together. Let me say it again. It will not be put together. It's 3 different countries. Pakistan owns the 3 counties, the 3 provinces, and the East. They're not in part of it. The Connies run it. I will go on and on, but here's the point. The point is that it's a counter-terrorism strategy. We can prevent the United States from being the victim of terror coming out of Afghanistan by providing for bases, insist the Pakistanis provide bases for us
and really good immigration.
To airlift from and to move against what we know. We don't need those troops there. I would bring them home. And Joe Dumfried's a fine guy. But this has been an
Here's the best part. We're going to bring those troops home.
With regard to,
we're gonna fucking, we're gonna rotate them out, and then we're not gonna do a damn thing to take care of them.
You know, I should have never voted to give Bush.
Hey, my dog's telling me that he needs to go out. I'll be right back.
Was designed,
all right.
Said, to go in and get the Security Council.
I've eaten half the fucking pizza so far.
Inspectors to go in to determine whether or not.
What is it? What kind of pizza is it?
Domino's pan pizza.
Yeah.
Green peppers and sausage. I made the mistake of getting square cut.
I said something
Wow.
that was not
So when I get to the middle, I'm burning myself.
From that point on, what I was
You
arguing
let it cool
against
off.
in the beginning,
I'll fucking starve
once we
and fuck.
started to put the troops in, was that in fact we were doing it the wrong way. There was no plan. We should not be engaged. We didn't have the people with us. We didn't have our alliance. We didn't have allies with us, etc. And it was later when we came into office, the president turned to me and said, Joe, when they said we had a plan to get out, he turned to the whole security and said, Joe will organize this. Get the troops home.
Oh, yeah.
My son spent a year in Iraq, and I understand. And we were right to get the combat troops out. The big mistake that was made, which we predicted, was that you would not have a circumstance where the Shia and the Kurds would work together to keep ISIS from moving in.
Mr. Vice President, thank you. I want to turn to Senator Sanders on this because the concern over Afghanistan is very similar to what we saw in Iraq when the troops came out. ISIS filled that vacuum. What do you make of people out there who are worried that if we pull out U.S. troops too quickly from Afghanistan, it will create safe haven all over again, like the plotters of 9/11?
David, let me answer that, but let me just comment on something that the Vice President said. You talked about the big mistake in Iraq and the surge. The truth is, the big mistake, the huge mistake, and one of the big differences between you and me, I never believed what Cheney and Bush said about Iraq. I voted against the war in Iraq and helped lead the opposition. And it's sad to say, I mean, I kind of, had the feeling that there would be massive destabilization in that area if we went into that war. As the former chairman of the Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs, I want to pick up on what Pete said. We cannot express our gratitude to all of the men and women who have put their lives on the line to defend us, who have responded to the call of duty. But I think also I am the only person up here to have voted against all 3 of Trump's military budgets. I don't think we have to spend $750 billion a year on the military when we don't even know who our enemy is.
It's everybody. I hate to tell you this, Bernie.
Bring this world together.
Yeah.
Bring it together on climate change. Bring it together in fighting against terrorism. And make it clear that we as a planet, as a global community, will work together to help countries around the world rebuild their struggling economies and do everything that we can.
Well, people listening to this are like, aren't they going to talk, or are they just like watching TV together?
Yeah, no shit, right? That's pretty much what it is. But you can't really comment on anything unless you're listening, you know?
No, I know.
You share the stage, as you know, when we talk
You're
about
now
troops
full
in Iraq
anyway.
and Afghanistan. With
No, not today. I mean, no, I just finished that.
With senators who are on the
pizza.
services, the foreign relations committees, with an Afghanistan veteran who is on the stage
Oh,
tonight.
get the chink off the
As you
stage.
share
I
the
can
stage
say
with
that. I'm a
candidates,
person of
what
color.
makes you the most qualified
Well,
on this stage to be
In fact,
I
I could say chink because I'm a person of yellow color.
Oh, yeah?
We've been in a state of continuous armed conflict for 18 years, but it's not.
The picture's really small. You look a little slant-eyed,
We
but I
have to
can't
start
tell.
owning what we can and can't do.
That's
We're
it.
not very good at
Actually, that's my
building
left eye
countries.
looks really slanted
And
eye
if you
because
want
I got
proof, all you have to
fucked
do
up
is
in my
look
first
within our
MMA
own
fight.
country of Puerto
Yeah.
Rico.
That'll tend to do that.
We've spent trillions of dollars to
I mean, totally destroyed my left eye.
thousands of lives, and thank you for
Yeah,
your service.
which 10 years later, I go blind in my right eye, so it's my one good eye.
America strong for decades. I would lead our armed forces with restraint and judgment. What the American people want is simply a president who has the right values and point of view, and they can trust to make the right decisions when it comes to putting our young men and women into harm's way. And that's what I would do as president.
Mr. Yang, thank
That
you.
was the most convoluted, no freaking basis whatsoever statement ever. Yep.
Let's begin.
Yeah, 'cause he has no
so
clue.
There's one country where many immigrants are arriving from is Venezuela. A recent UN fact-finding mission found that thousands have been disappeared, tortured, and killed by government forces in Venezuela. You admit that Venezuela does not have free elections, but still you refuse
Oh, look at that. Now they're going to have to Bernie.
a dictator.
But then Bernie did say Venezuela had the perfect socialist paradise.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the
Wonder if
one
they're really
being imposed
challenging
in
on that.
Venezuela,
That they're doing it right
Cuba,
now.
and Nicaragua.
Well, first of all, let me be very clear. Anybody who does what Maduro does is a vicious tyrant. What we need now is international and regional cooperation for free elections in Venezuela so that the people of that country can create their own future. In terms of democratic socialism, to
That's where he
equate
was
what goes
coming.
on in Venezuela with what I believe is extremely unfair. I'll tell you what I believe in terms of democratic socialism. I agree with what goes on in Canada and in Scandinavia, guaranteeing
Yeah, to go in the
healthcare
house
to all
and plug my
people as a human
computer
right.
back in.
I believe that the United States should
My
not
wife
be
was
the
asleep
only
on the
major
couch
country
and
on
waiting for
earth
my kids to get
not
home from
provide
football and then
paid
eat dinner.
family and medical leave. I believe that every worker in this country deserves a living wage and that we expand the trade union movement. I happen to believe also that what, to me, democratic socialism means is we deal with an issue we do not discuss enough, Jorge, not in the media and not in Congress. You got 3 people in America owning more wealth than the bottom half of this country. You got a handful of billionaires
There's nothing wrong with
controlling
that.
what goes on in Wall Street, the insurance companies, and in the media. Maybe, just maybe, what we should be doing is creating an economy that works for all of us, not 1%. That's my understanding of democratic socialism.
Secretary Garcia, you wanted to say a quick response, 45 seconds.
Sure, thank you, Jorge. I'll call Maduro a dictator because he is a dictator. And what we need to do is to, along with our allies, make sure that the Venezuelan people get the assistance that they need, that we continue to pressure Venezuela so that they'll have free and fair elections, and also here in the United States, offer temporary protected status, TPS, to Venezuelans. That is something that the Trump administration has failed to do. For all of his big talk about supporting the Venezuelan American community, he has failed. I will not. I also believe that we need to do things like a 21st century Marshall Plan for Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala, so that people can find safety and opportunity at home instead of having to make the dangerous journey to the United States. And under my administration, we're going to put renewed focus on Latin America. It makes sense. They're our neighbors, and we have a lot of things in common. It also makes sense that because we have a country like China that is going around the world to places like Africa and Latin America, making their own relationships, strengthening those. The United States needs to strengthen its partnerships in Latin America immediately, and I will.
Senator Booker, let me ask you about Brazil.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and need you to stay late on Saturday to finish up those TPS reports.
Since 2014, that's obviously a personal choice. But President Trump and Brazil's President Bolsonaro are concerned that climate change regulations could affect economic growth. So should more Americans, including those here in Texas and in Iowa, follow your diet?
First of all, I want to say no. Actually, I want to translate that into Spanish. No.
So how racist is New Jersey that It's 2019, and he is their
God bless you,
first
we're back yet, or just dog eating?
sort of black representative or senator.
One of the reasons why I have a bill to put a moratorium on this kind of corporate consolidation.
Hey guys, I gotta go. I gotta eat dinner.
Is destroying and
Oh, yeah.
All right.
All that family stuff. Sorry.
No, that's cool. Thanks for coming along.
No problem, man. Invite me again. It was fun.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely do this again.
You guys are great. Yeah.
Crowded debate stage. We were talking about Afghanistan.
Cool beans. We'll talk to you later.
All right.
We
Bye-bye.
had a conversation about
Bye,
our troops overseas,
Yeah.
and we didn't say one word about veterans in our country. We have a shameful reality in America that we send people off to war, and they often come home with invisible wounds, hurts, and harms. They're disproportionately homeless. You hear stories about women waiting for months for gynecological care through the VA. It is very important that as we, as a country, understand that we are not going to solve every problem with this outrageous increased militarism, that we also make sure that we stand up for the people that stood for us. We end our national anthem with Home of the Brave.
This is going to be a little bit insensitive, but
better home for our bravest.
maybe we wouldn't have to worry about veterans OBGYN if,
2 years ago, and not only is the
I don't
Amazon
know,
burning,
we
Greenland is melting
weren't
on a record
letting
pace.
women
The last
on
5
the
years
battlefield.
have been the hottest ever recorded, and we have a viewer's question about this. What
Yeah,
meaningful
that sounds a
action
little
will you
insensitive.
take to reverse the effects of climate change?
Okay, so I
And can we
remember
count
this
on
is
you to
going back to
follow
when I
through
was in
if your donors are against it?
back in the late 80s.
Yes, we will follow.
And they were talking about integration of women into combat back then. But first they were trying to put them in the Navy and on the ships, integrating the ships. And then 90% of them came back, pregnant. You just can't fight.
Oh no, that's definitely a thing. Like,
Yeah. So you can't fight biology. And the thing is that I got into a huge argument because my girlfriend, my fiance at the time, was also a service member. We had a huge argument because she was all for it. I'm like, okay, hon, you're average size. You're 125 pounds, right? Which when 125 pounds was average size for a woman back then in the late 80s. Not average size now, which is like what, 180, something like that, 170, 180. And I said, I'm gonna lay down on the ground. I'm gonna ask you to pull me across away from a firefight. And she's like, okay. So she gets in my arms and she can't pull me. Like, this is the reason why women shouldn't be in combat. How I go in combat, I want to make sure my teammate can pull me away from danger if I can't get away. And he should also be, know that I'll be able to pull him away. They passed the first female ranger, you know that, right?
yeah, that happened, like 2 or 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, and they fucking changed the requirements.
Right, which is bullshit. So that isn't just like regular service. So that is special forces.
Yeah, and then let's put it this way: you wouldn't do that for a weaker male. If you're a man and you can't do it, you're out. You can't meet their standards. I mean, women want equality. That's great. Then, then compete under the same rules.
Right, and there are women that are absolute beasts, right?
Absolutely, but they're outliers. They're not the norm. I have some women stronger than me. I'm not gonna lie. Years of lifting weights. I've met lots of women just as strong, not stronger than me, depending if I'm chemically enhanced or not. But the point is that they're outliers. They're not the norm. Just like the special forces. If you can't pass the test, which is made to weed out the weak, you have no right to be in it. You don't deserve that tab.
Yes. We need to work on every front on climate change. It is the threat to every living thing on this planet. And we are
Great. It is climate change again.
Every time the scientists go back, they say we have less and less time than we thought we had.
Of course they're going to say we have less and less time. Al Gore fucked that 20 years ago by saying it was going to happen. It was going to happen by year 2000.
Well, you got to understand, there's, like a 50-year plus or minus in these things.
The science isn't exact.
All carbon emissions from
I mean, it's proven, but not exact.
Electricity. That alone, those three, will cut our emissions here in the United States by 70%.
What's going to cut it? I didn't hear it.
No, I didn't hear either. We were bullshitting over the top of it.
World to clean, but understand this one more time. Why doesn't it happen? As long as Washington is paying more attention to money than it is to our future, we can't make the changes we need.
You are Washington.
Yeah.
You are Washington.
It's a different thing if you're
You
coming
could
out
have
here.
fixed this.
Jeez, how long has she been in Washington?
Oh, shit, I don't know. Let's look it up.
3 years old. When I look at what is going to be the world if we do nothing when they turn 20, I am really scared. And when I've been in the United States Senate for now the last 2.5
Wow,
years,
she's the exact same age as my parents.
counterparts,
So she's been in for 6
the
years,
Republicans
actually.
in the United States Senate, they must
Still
be looking
part of
at
it.
their children, and then when they look at the mirror, I don't know what they see, but it's a lack of courage. And this is an issue that, yes, it represents an existential threat. It is also something we can do something about.
There's
This is
nothing,
a problem that was created
nothing
by
we can do
human
about climate
behaviors.
change.
And we can change our behaviors in a way that saves our planet. I've seen it happen.
I don't think
California, I took
they
on
would
as
pay
the
attention to the
Attorney
science
General
that they
of
want to pay
California. I
attention
ran the
to.
second largest Department
No
of
one's
Justice
ever
in the
really
United
sat them
States.
down and told them, hey,
Second
listen,
largest
you know,
in the
we're in the
United
middle of an
States
ice
Department of
age.
Justice. I took on the big oil companies.
You know, that's a
And
big
we saw
part of why I
progress.
really wanted to
If
have
any of you
BK
have
on
been
this
to
evening.
Los
So it's a
Angeles
shame that he had to
20 years
leave
ago, you'll
before
remember
this conversation actually started. He is a geologist, a scientist, and he really understands the subject material a lot better than a lot of the rest of us on the forums.
And we made a difference. And my point being, I've done it before, and I will
Yeah, it'd be
lead
nice to
as
get his
president
input.
on this issue because we have no time. The clock is ticking, but we need courage and we need courageous leadership. We can get this done.
Mr. Yang.
Okay, she's never going to be president because every time she talks, it looks like she's about to cry.
Elizabeth said, why are we losing to the fossil fuel companies? Why are we losing to the gun lobby and the NRA? And the answer is this. We all know, everyone on the stage knows, that our government has been overrun by money and corporate interests.
He's half Asian.
Yang is a good person to say come in here and talk that shit because he's not a fucking lifelong fucking
Money finds a way. Money will find its way back in.
Right?
So what is the
Am I
answer?
wrong?
The answer is to
What's that?
wash the
Yang,
money out.
he's half Asian.
People-powered money.
See, I thought it was full Asian.
My proposal is that we give
I thought it was
every
a full
American
shank.
100
It's fine.
democracy dollars.
Well, no, so
You can only
so
give to
my
candidates
wife is Korean, so all of my kids are half Korean,
I'm sorry to hear that.
and he's got and you know, not to be insensitive, but we call it the white man folds, and it looks like he's got white man folds on his eyes. Maybe it's just a trick of the camera or something.
No, his parents are immigrants from Taiwan.
Interesting.
Maybe he had some, what do you call it, some plastic surgery to make him look less chunky. I can say that on a person of color if you're just listening. Yellow color, actually.
You have said that Democrats
Yeah, actually, I got a grandkid coming.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. And his mother is
Why isn't
Latina.
taxpayer money better spent on
My
fixing
kid's
traditional
half
public
Latino.
schools?
Let me be
So
clear,
my
I am
grandkid's going to be
pro-good
three-quarters Latino.
I've got a kid, one of my
Quarter
little
chink.
boys just started public school last week, and I was not there because I was unprepared.
So there's a theory somewhere that says that eventually the entire world is going to be, you know, kind of yellowish brown, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
well, if you're a white supremacist, they call them mud. But okay. So do your part there, white boy.
and so I don't really see a problem with that, you know. Like I gave my part, and if that part survives, then you know I'm good.
I'm saying, just like, you know, I got my kids are Puerto Rican, right? It's got black in there too. So, which is like a shock to me, because I didn't know there was a, you know, I thought Puerto Ricans were, you know, Latinos. Until my ex-wife showed me a photo album, and I'm like, yeah, these are my cousins and my aunt. I'm like, they're black.
Yeah, no, like so Puerto Ricans were so so that's a threefold, right? So you've got, you know, the indigenous people,
yeah,
and then you've got the white Spaniards that came over and conquered it. And then you've got the black slaves that they brought over, right?
Just like Cuba.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, amazing that they're only one island away and they're exactly the same.
Yeah, they had the Taino.
Social and emotional learning. Some of it is
Yep.
extremely simple. We've
The
just
Taino were the indigenous people of Cuba, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, Bahamas, and the Lesser Antilles. I just read that off of fucking Wikipedia.
So the Lesser Antilles are all Dutch and French now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the crazy thing. You know, we did the DNA testing, and my kids actually have Irish blood as well too, which I think is pretty hilarious.
Oh, sláinte.
Yeah, they have Irish ancestry, which is funny because their godfather is, you know, full-blown Irishman, Norman McPhillips, and it's just
Oh, it's a good name. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like 95% Irish actually by descendancy.
See, you were considered the N-word of Europe.
Yeah, actually, and of America, believe it or not.
Too, yeah. well, listen, Filipinos are considered the N-word of the Orient. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that may have something to do with the sexual preferences of some of the... never mind.
Yeah, I don't know where you're going with that. Don't know where you're going with that.
No, but actually, the Philippines has a really neat history as far as their independence and stuff. And
you mean being owned by one country or another for the last 400 years? You know what tomorrow is, bro?
Let's see. Today is 12th. Tomorrow's Friday the 13th.
Exactly. Can't wait. Put my mask on. Walk around with my Halloween knife. Not to get off of track here, but Gordon Ryan's going after Paul Harris. They're going to compete. It's going to be Leg Lock City. But here's the funny thing. Paul Harris at one time was a leg lock king. But everybody's caught up to that shit.
Teacher, Mrs. Frances Wilson, God rest her soul.
I smacked Mike with my hand.
I think most of us would say that we are not where we are without the teachers who believed in us.
Hey, we have viewers.
In this campaign,
There are people.
Hey, fuck
Yeah.
all of y'all. I hope Frost is one of them. I hope you had fun with that Antifa fucking podcast, you cocksucker.
Oh, that was really, really interesting, and we could talk more about that offline. But there were points during the evening where like Frost and I are just looking at each other, going like, well, "What the fuck is actually going on here?" It was quite amusing.
I bet it was. But it's just as funny as you put a Proud Boy on there or a white supremacist. It's the same mindset, just a different fucking ideology. That's it in a nutshell. Same mindset, different ideology. I will shut you up for not believing what I believe. That's it.
No, I mean this was. I don't think we got so much of that. So there was a little bit like of like in your face, like okay, you know, boom, we're, you know, kind of militant and stuff, but as we got towards the end, it started turning into like Area 51 kind of shit, and we're just going like, what the fuck did we get into here?
No shit.
Yeah, so I'm still doing the editing on that episode, so hopefully we'll be able to get that out over the weekend. But so no offense to Jerry, who was our guest, that was talking about all this stuff. He seems like a really nice guy, but you know, there were a couple of points where we just traded a couple of looks like, hey, this is going way off the rails, and I don't know what the hell we're even talking about anymore. And you know, it's that little bit of a look, right? So you know, you're sitting across the table from me, and I look at you, and I raise an eyebrow, and you look at me, and you're like, you raise both hands, like you're shrugging, and you know, that kind of thing. It's like, okay.
Yeah, that good, eh?
Well, it was fun and entertaining, and it certainly gives us a lot of insight into
A mindset.
that mindset, right?
Yeah.
So, and we'll bring him back and do an additional episode or two with him to kind of clarify some of the things that he was talking about. So, it was definitely worthwhile. It was just not what we expected it to be when we jumped into it, right?
That's awesome. Can't wait to hear it.
So we actually have 2 episodes in queue that Frost is working on that are, so one of them is you with us, right? The episode that we did together, I don't know, it's like 3 months ago now. I finally got around because I had to go through and I had to edit out all the shit that we weren't gonna say on the air.
Good Lord, this woman's gonna be attractive. Well, go ahead, sorry.
She's kind of cute, but
She's not made up. She's definitely downplayed her looks for this. But yeah, she's pretty attractive. I don't know. Maybe I like strong black women. I don't know. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead. You were saying. You say you were editing parts out where I was cursing and all that shit, calling everybody names.
Oh no. So we kept the part with you singing. Can you sing it?
Can I say what?
Can you sing it?
Sing what?
You don't remember?
No, I don't. Dude, it was 3 months ago. I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday. Fuck, I can't even remember if I had lunch yesterday.
I was trying to figure out all the audio issues, and you're coming in singing, "It's raining men."
Oh, that one, yeah.
Yeah, so we saved that. Yeah,
You gotta save that one. That was
that
good.
was good.
Did I do it with a lisp, though?
Oh, yeah, no, you were full character. Yeah,
Oh,
it was
good,
great.
good,
Yeah.
good. That was part of my stand-up routine for a while. To come on stage with a lisp. People are like, "Oh, you've never met a 6-foot Asian? A gay 6-foot Asian man before?" Oh Lord, that's like unbelievable. Oh Lord, listen to Biden. Listen to Biden. I'm gonna do just like Bill twice over.
No, he just told her off. Like, no, my time's not over.
This little backwards. And by the way, in Venezuela, we should be allowing people to come here from Venezuela. I know Maduro. I've confronted Maduro. Number 2, you talk about the need to do something in Latin America. I'm the guy that came up with $740 million to see to it those 3 countries, in fact, change their system so people don't have a chance to leave. You're all acting like we just discovered this yesterday.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Secretary Castro.
Thank you very much. Well, that's quite a lot.
No, it's great. We gave $750 million to communist countries under the Obama-Biden regime.
2 public school districts
That's something to be proud
that
of.
were involved in a 1973 Supreme Court case challenging how Texas financed its schools. And I know that today our schools are segregated because our neighborhoods are segregated.
What
now, I have an
pisses me off
education
about
plan
this
like
guy
a lot of folks up here that would pay teachers
is
more,
when he
that would recruit diverse
starts,
ranks of teachers, that would
referring
invest in our
to
public
like
schools. But I
Spanish
also
names,
believe that we
right?
have to
Like
connect
names
the
of
dots.
countries or names of
uplift the
places,
quality of
and
life, to
he
invest in
throws out
housing
his
opportunity,
accent.
to invest in job opportunity, to invest
They all
like-
do that though.
community schools that
And
offer
further
resources
tonight
like
on 10 o'clock
parents
news,
able to go back and
we'll
get
have
their
the
GED
upgrade.
and
We'll have the
healthcare
update on
opportunities,
Nicaragua.
and those things that truly ensure that the
Well,
entire
Obama did that
family
with
can
Cote
prosper.
d'Ivoire.
Those are the types of things that we need to do.
Well, listen to AOC when she's talking to all the
lifting
black
up our public
constituents.
schools. You asked a second
All of a
ago
sudden
about
turn
charter
Southern
schools.
black.
Look,
What do
it
they
is
call
a
that?
myth
What do they
that
call it
charter
when you do
schools are
that?
better
You
than
start
public
changing your
schools. They're not.
accent so that you can meld in better with the people you want.
I mean, I call it zelling, right?
Against charter schools, I would require more
But yeah, like
transparency and
if
accountability from them
if
than
George
is
W.
currently
Bush
right
had done that, and been like,
Senator Booker, coming to you now.
well, we're gonna go down to Cote d'Ivoire, right? They would have totally fucking skewered him over that. But if he came out and said, well, we're gonna go to Cote d'Ivoire, they would have frickin' skewered him over that. So, like, it's just insane. Like, they look for any little frickin'
I'm not
thing.
just talking about the achievement gap, but I'm talking about the
Yeah, no, that's the
opportunity
whole
gap
thing.
in
I mean,
education.
and then they blow it up to be
So,
a lie, like
I'm
everything
hearing a lot of
CNN does.
conversations
They'll take
on the
a
stage
shred of something
and the
and
way we
then
talk about
blow it
communities
up
of
to be a
color.
lie. Pretty
Look,
much every
I live in a black and brown community
accusation
below
of
the
the
poverty
president
line.
was done by
I've lived
CNN, like
in
the
public housing
prostitution,
projects
the
almost for a
prostitutes,
decade
CNN,
and saw the
the
anguish
sexual
of
harassment,
parents
CNN.
who are just so deeply frustrated.
I mean, they've all been
that they
shown
don't have
off
a
to
school
be,
that
you know,
serves your genes.
fake. That's why he calls them
I think
fake
the only
news,
person on the
but
stage,
still, and then they don't retract it, right? Because they got it from anonymous sources. That's the whole thing now. Is you can report anything you want as long as you say it's from an anonymous
A lot of folks
source.
here talking about raising teacher
Yeah,
salary.
that's
We actually
total
did it
BS.
in Newark, New Jersey.
It can make anything up now as long as it's an anonymous
We
source.
closed poor-performing charter schools, but dagnabbit, we expanded high-performing charter schools. We were a city that said we need to find local solutions that work for our community. The results speak for themselves. We're now the #1 city in America for beat the odds schools, from high poverty to high performance. Strategies like investing in our children
Jesus.
work, and I'll tell you this.
They really should
I am
just
tired of us thinking about these problems.
cull
isolated, disconnected from other issues.
candidates here to the top 3, top 4.
Right. We are in the reality we are right now because
So I think it's going to be Biden, Warren, and Bernie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And more than just that, my kids are not only struggling with racial segregation and housing,
So actually,
and the
let's
challenges of
see, I had
underfunded
that,
schools,
I had
but
that
they're
up.
also struggling with environmental injustice. If you talk
Yep.
to someone who's a parent of a child who's had
Who we got?
permanent brain damage because of lead,
Biden. Yep, exactly. Those are the top 3. So everyone else doesn't make a fucking difference.
The question is, what are they going to push? Obviously, Bernie's going to get pushed to the side again because the DNC doesn't want socialism, and the old party liners are still in control of the DNC. So Bernie's going to get pushed across the side again, just like he did with Clinton. Biden is the old status quo, so there's a good chance that he might be pushed, and or they might do the stupid thing again and try to push Warren to get the first woman president on there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be their smartest play.
Well, if they do Warren, first off, she's, you know, I mean, you can't run away from the fact that this is a woman who lied about her ancestry for the longest time, and that's going to be pushed. You know, she played the game. You know, and she's talking about income inequality. Well, you know, and schools are so expensive, but you know, your husband gets paid over $400,000 a year to teach, or $600,000 a year to teach. You charge $450,000 every time you go do a speech. You know, so at a school. So I mean, you talk out of one side of your mouth and you actually do the other.
You know, I think that's a tactic that has not really been successfully leveraged against the Democrats in general. Is that, you know, by the time you get to the point where you are a serious contender for a presidential election,
Yeah.
you're a multimillionaire.
You're a multimillionaire, you've got people who owe you favors and people you owe favors to.
But that doesn't reconcile with the message that they're pushing, and like nobody's really ever challenged them on that.
No. No, everyone on that stage really is a millionaire.
Absolutely. So and so this is one of my big beefs, right? And so I have it in my signature on the forums and stuff like that. But so there was an oversight, is what I will call it, in the Constitution, the way it was originally worded, about the level of representation that the people would have in the House of Representatives. And so what we have now is a runaway kind of problem where, you know, now if you are elected to the House of Representatives, you are on average representing about 800,000 people
Welcome back to Houston. I'm Devin Dwyer. We're behind the scenes at the
And
debate here at
that number is only going to go up because there was a law passed in, I want to say 1913, that says that we're never going to increase the number of representatives in the House. We're just going to reapportion them based on the census. So what that means is with every successive census, with every child that's born, with every little bit that the country grows in population, your voice becomes just a little bit less.
You see Warren and you see Bernie doing their thing, their tag team.
Yeah.
Before we gotta go here, I gotta ask you about Julian Castro. Hard at Joe Biden.
While the break is on, I'm watching Roy Dean rolling against an Aikido black belt.
I mean, we are preparing for someone who's going to take on.
Of course, Roy Dean is an Aikido black belt too, as well as a Jiu-Jitsu black belt.
Well, it helps to have actual skills.
Yeah. He's not even trying. It's pretty pathetic. I mean, really, against any Aikido black belt, just make sure he doesn't grab your wrist and you're good. I mean, he just did a tripod sweep on him. The guy had no idea it was coming. And he's being nice. He's not putting any weight on him or anything. He's like floating on him.
Where is
just
this?
to make him tired. Yeah.
Shoot me the link. We'll pull it up.
Yeah.
We'll
He,
put it
just,
on live.
he got him with a fucking Americana. Hold on, I'm gonna send it to you right now.
Alright.
My Lanta. Fuck, everything's slowed down my machine. It's raining men. Hallelujah, it's raining men. There you go.
Yeah, I got it. Hold on. I'm gonna pull it up. Come on now. Come on now. Work for me. Work for me.
Yeah, he just did a sit-up sweep, swept the guy like our sit-up sweep straight to an armbar. He's not even trying. I mean, he just like hit him with his hips, twirled around, boom. It's an Aikido black belt, which is like, hey, listen, I just spent 15 years of my life and I wasted it.
Is this live or are you watching the?
No. It's a video. It's like I spent 50. He just got him with a triangle. He wasn't even trying. You gotta watch this.
Hold on. Let me turn this bullshit
Oh
down.
my god, it's like I spent 15 years of my life to get this black belt. I don't know how to throw a punch or a kick, and well, once I go to the ground where I'm supposedly know how to do some type of grappling, I lose to a guy who's not even sweating. I don't even think he's awake. I think he's like fucking sleepwalking right now. Nope, got him with a guillotine. Nope, he didn't do the guillotine. He decided to go fucking.
Oh, you're talking. I just started the video, so.
Yeah, he decided to hump his head for a little bit. That is like one of the. Look, jiu-jitsu is pretty humbling, but one of the most humbling things is when they go for the Kimura and from top control and you're on your side, they decide to fucking teabag you before they do it. Oh, it's back. Biden's back.
Oh, he's back? All right, hold on.
Yeah.
I'll pause this.
Oh, he's getting heckled.
Oh, it is Bernie supporters.
We're going to clear the protesters now. Just 1 minute.
Hey, how many times?
Senator Biden, we'll start the clock again.
You know, every time they get hecklers like that, security should fucking have water guns and then shoot them like you do a bad dog. You know, that barks at the door? That's like one of the training tips for, what do you call it? For a dog that runs to the door and barks. You open up the door and there's a guy out there with a big splash gun right in the face. Do it 2 or 3 times, it stops him.
I think the most critical setback that can occur to anyone is to lose. Well, my dad had an expression. He said, Joey, it's not a question of succeeding whether you get knocked down, it's how quickly you get up. And he used to say, never explain and never complain. And then go on to say that the only obligation that really matters, the most important thing, is family. And so I was raised to believe that that was the center of everything. family. And it could be judged on based how you treat your family and how you went from there.
Yeah, of course, we know how you treat your family, $1 billion deal.
You know, Kierkegaard said, faith sees best in the dark. Right after I got elected, my wife and daughter were killed in an automobile accident, and my two sons are badly injured. And I just been elected, not sworn in. And I lost my faith for a while. I came back. And then later, when my son Bo came home from Iraq and with a terminal disease, and a year and a half later, losing him was like losing part of my soul. But the fact is that I learned that the way you deal with it is you deal with finding purpose in what you do. And that's why I hope he's proud of me today, because he wanted to make sure I didn't run for president, but I stayed engaged. Because when you get hit badly, whether you're losing a job or you're raising a family like my dad, where you have to make that longest walk up the stairs to tell your kid you can't live here anymore, dad lost his job, you know, we've all went through that, some form or another. And it just for me, the way I've dealt with it is finding purpose. And my purpose is do what I've always tried to do and stay engaged in public policy. But there's a lot of people that through a lot worse than I have, get up every single morning, put their feet one foot in front of another without the help I had. They're real heroes out there.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Senator Warren.
I mentioned earlier, I've known what I wanted to be since second grade. I wanted to be a public school
Indian.
teacher. And I invested early. I used to line my daughters
wanted to be
up
Pocahontas.
School. I had a reputation for being tough but fair. By the time I graduated from high school, my family didn't have money for a college application, much less to send me off to 4 years at a university. And my story, like a lot of stories, has a lot of twists and turns. Got a scholarship, and then at 19, I got married, dropped out of school, took a minimum wage job, thought my dream was over. I got a chance down the road at the University of Houston. And I made it as a special needs teacher. I still remember that first year as a special needs teacher. I could tell you what those babies looked like. I had 4 to 6-year-olds. But at the end of that first year,
Lord.
I was
I'm going to eat another slice of pizza. Or another square of pizza.
That meant that the
Should be
principal
nice
said
and
to
cool
me,
now.
wish me luck,
Oh, delicious.
and hired someone else for the job. So there I am. I'm at home, I got a baby, I can't have a job. What am I going to do?
I'm going to become an American Indian.
I said, I'll go to law school.
I'm
And the
becoming an American
consequence
Indian.
was, I practiced law for about 45 minutes, and then went back to my first love. which is
That's the
teaching.
first true thing
But it
she
let
said.
me get into fights. It gave me new tools. And the reason I'm standing here today is because I got back up, I fought back. I know what's broken. I want to be in the fight to fix it in America.
Thank
That's
you,
why I'm
Senator.
here.
Senator Sanders.
Resilience to me means growing up in a rent-controlled apartment in Brooklyn, New York, the son of an immigrant who came to this country without a nickel in his pocket. Professional resilience means to me, George,
And so now,
running for U.S. Senate in Vermont.
trying to see who
I want to take the nickels from everyone else.
I had a worse upbringing than you.
Finally becoming mayor of Burlington, Vermont with 10-vote margin. What resilience means to me is that throughout my political career, I have taken on virtually every powerful special interest in this country. Whether it is Wall Street, whether it is the insurance industry, whether it is the pharmaceutical industry whose corruption and greed is killing people today, whether it is a military-industrial complex or a prison-industrial complex. And
So
feel
I could name
confident
one
that given a
that he hasn't taken
lifelong
on.
record of taking on powerful
The
special
mainstream
interests,
media.
of
No,
standing
that's
up
true.
for the working families of this
Yeah, but
country,
they're good for him.
that I will be able to take on the greed and
Ooh, they're already
corruption
saying,
of the
they're already
corporate
saying,
elite
yeah, Julian
and
Castro
create a
shredded Joe
government
Biden over
and
memory
an
problems,
economy
elderly
for all
abuse.
of us, not just the 1%.
Thank you, Senator Sanders. Senator Harris.
Yeah, this is obviously wrapping up because this is all
You know,
platitudes.
every office I've run for, whether it be district attorney or attorney general, I was told each time, it can't be done. They
Oh,
said,
please
nobody
let her
like
cry.
you has
Let her
done it
cry.
before. Nobody is ready for you. When I ran for DA, I won and became the first black woman elected DA in a state of 40 million people in San Francisco.
You know they're lying.
When I ran for
Yeah,
Attorney
so
General of
California does not
I
have
was elected,
40 million
'cause
people
I didn't
unless
listen.
the illegal
And I was
immigrant
the
issue
only,
is
black
significantly
elected, black
underreported.
elected, Attorney General in the state. In the
40 million
country.
people? Really?
And each time
I think
people would
22,
say, it's
23
not your
maybe?
time, it's not your turn, it's going to be too difficult, they're not ready for you. And I
Fact
know
check
The
that
Trump,
real
the
quick.
Trump campaign right now is flying a banner over Houston.
Many
Oh, wow.
times that were like
It says
lessons
socialism
to me,
will kill
including,
Houston's
don't you ever
economy.
let
Vote Trump
anybody tell you
2020.
who you are. You tell them who you
Okay,
are.
so I eat crow there. 39.5 million.
When I look around
I thought it was
the town
much
halls
less
that
than
we
that.
do in this race for president of the United States.
Interesting.
and
No,
I look at
California's
the,
huge.
The meetings that we do in the community meetings, and I see these little girls and boys, sometimes even brought by their fathers, and they bring them to me, and I talk to them during these events, and they smile, and they're full of joy, and their fathers tell them, see, don't you ever listen and let anybody ever tell you what you can and
Things-
cannot be. You have
things
to
that
believe
never
in
happened
what
for
can
$100,
be,
Alex.
unburdened by what has been.
Senator Harris, thank you very much. Mayor Buttigieg.
You know, as a military officer serving under Don't Ask, Don't
I
Tell,
seriously cannot look at this
and as
guy
an
with a
elected
straight face.
official in the state of Indiana when Mike Pence was governor, at a certain point, when it came to professional setbacks, I had to wonder whether just
I was going with the gay.
acknowledging who
He's
I
going for the gay
was
thing now.
was going to be the ultimate career-ending professional setback. I came back from the deployment and realized that you only get to live one life, and I was not interested in not knowing what it was like to be in love any longer. So I just came out. I had no idea what kind of professional setback it would be, especially because, inconveniently, it was an election year in my socially conservative community. What happened was that when I trusted voters to judge me based on the job that I did for them, they decided to trust me and reelected me with 80% of the vote. And what I learned was that trust can be reciprocated, and that part of how you can win and deserve to win is to know what's worth more to you than winning. And I think that's what we need in the presidency right now. We have to know what we are about. And this election is not about any of us up here. It is not about this president, even though it's hard to talk of anything else some days. It's about the people who trust us with their lives. A kid wondering if we're actually going to make their schools safe when they've learned active shooter drills before they've learned to read. A generation wondering whether we will actually get the job done on climate change. And if we hold to that, then it doesn't matter what happens to each of us professionally. Together, we will
Climate
win
change.
a better
Here's
era for our
a great question. You ready for it, bro?
Thank you.
Yeah, bring it on.
Mr. Yang.
All right, here's my question. Would
I was
you,
an unhappy liar for
right
5
now,
months and I left to start
bet a
business.
year's
And I'm
worth of
gonna share with you
paychecks
all one of the secrets to
on the
entrepreneurship.
weathermen being
If you
right
wanna start
about the
something,
weather
tell
tomorrow?
everyone you know
No.
if you're going to do it.
Exactly.
And you don't have a choice. You put your
I don't
heart
even
out.
have to think about that
Even
one.
though I did that, my
Exactly.
company
So
flopped,
let's
had me and
bet
Ryan
everything we
Maxwell
got.
fall.
The government bets
Lost investors
billions
hundreds
and
of
trillions of
thousands
dollars
still owed
on
100,000
climate change,
school
and no
debt.
one can
My
figure it
parents
out.
still
I mean,
told
for
me
crying
I
out
was
loud,
there.
3 years
Yes,
ago, they
it's
said it was
so
going to be
easy.
the worst
So
hurricane season ever because of climate change. We didn't have one hurricane.
Eventually, I picked myself
We didn't
back
have a
up.
freaking
I kept working in small
tropical
growth
storm.
companies for another 10 years.
Now,
and eventually
this
had some
hurricane that just
success.
hit,
Then after I did have some success, I
Dorian,
still remember
it's
how
definitely
hard it was, how
definitely
isolating
Trump's
it
fault
was, how
because
it
you know
feels
he's
like
not
your
pushing for
friends,
climate change.
no
I mean, it's
longer
crazy.
want to spend time with you. And so I spent 7 years starting and running a nonprofit that helped
makes my
train
head
young
hurt.
entrepreneurs around the country, including Sean Wen, who's here in the audience tonight.
Because
who
you can't even
his gilded Wall Street job
make
to
an
to
argument
become
that
a food
anyone's going to
entrepreneur in
listen
San
to.
Antonio. Sean, I hope I made the process a little bit easier for you than it was for me. But the goal of my campaign is to make this an economy that allows us to live our human values and aspirations.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Yang. Senator Booker.
Whatever. What does he know? He's Asian.
So my biggest professional setback is embarrassing because a lot of folks know about it.
You're bald.
With a bunch of tenant leaders in Newark, New Jersey in 2002, took on the political machine, and boy, did they fight back. I had tires on my car slashed, our campaign offices were broken into, my phones were tapped. It became a spectacle, and we lost that election.
Like, if you know the right people, you can get that
If
stuff
you're gonna
done.
have a spectacular failure, have a documentary team there to capture it, because it made for an Oscar-nominated documentary called Street Fight. But then, unfortunately, another setback, it lost in the Oscars to a movie called March of the Dagnab Penguins, for crying out loud. The people in my community living in the projects told me, don't give up on the people, and the people won't give up on you. Create bigger and bolder coalitions, and you're going to win. And you know what? We came back 4 years later and won the largest lopsided victory in our city's history.
Going to politics on Reddit or Bernie's
we didn't give up. We were taking on America's toughest problems.
It's fantastic. I just sit there and I'm going, these people are fucking crazy.
City, creating tens of thousands of new jobs, the biggest economic expansion in our city, and as I said before, turned around our school system.
I have better things to do with my day.
I haven't given up on the people. I still live in that community, but this is the big lesson.
Once in a while, I'll indulge.
Oh, I know, it's good. I go to the front page and I see it, and I just go, oh, look at this, and I just sit there and holy shit.
There's an old African saying that says, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. The lesson I learned of resilience is to trust people, because the power of the people is always greater than the people in power. And the test of America right now,
it's not a referendum That's why you want to disarm them.
It's a referendum on us and who we are and who we're going to be together. We need to use this moment in history to unite in common cause and common purpose, and then there's nothing we can't do together as a nation.
Senator Booker, thank you.
Oh, now I just got that. You're right. This is just straight up platitudes. I don't know. This is
everything that I've learned about resilience.
I've learned
from my hometown of El Paso, Texas. In the face of this act of terror that was directed at our community in large part
So
by
I didn't even get the chance. I was going to say $1 he references the shooting,
and injured many
but
more. We were not
he went into
defeated
it
by
before
that,
I even
nor
had
were
the
we
chance to say
defined
it.
by that. The very thing that drew that killer to us is the very thing that helps us set the example for the rest of this country. We don't see our differences as disqualifying or dangerous. We see them as foundational to our success, to our strength, and to our security, and to our safety. Yesterday, I was visiting with one of those victims. He's the head coach of the Fusion. This is a girls' soccer team of 10 and 11-year-old girls. His name is Luis. He was shot in the legs multiple times. He was shot in the side multiple times. He's still healing from his wounds in the hospital, but from his hospital bed, he's still trying to coach the Fusion girls' soccer team. Memo, his co-coach, is still fighting for his life right now at Del Sol Hospital. Those two men, Jessica and Marcella, their wives, they exemplify resilience to me. And when we end
this is why you should elect me,
gun
because
violence in this country,
two people
when we finally
got
confront
shot.
the racism that exists in America, when we're defined not by our fears, but instead by our aspirations and our ambitions, it will be in large part, I think, thanks to the example that El Paso has set.
Congressman, thank you. Senator Klobuchar.
That was kind of
My
boring.
challenges and resilience have brought me up here. I grew up with a dad who struggled with alcoholism his whole life, and after his third DWI, he had a choice between jail and treatment. He chose treatment with his faith, with his friends, with our family, and in his words, he was pursued by grace. And that made me interested in
And that's
public
why you
service
should
because I
elect
feel
me,
like
because my
everyone
dad
should
is
have
an
that same
alcoholic.
right to be pursued by grace. And
Yeah, we
then
should really
got
put
married.
a disclaimer
Husband's
at the
out there
beginning of this
somewhere, hopefully
podcast.
smiling.
Oh wait, it's live. Fuck, I
And
can't do
our
it.
daughter. And our daughter was born. I had this expectation we're going to have this perfect birth. And she was really sick. And she couldn't swallow. And she was in and out of hospitals for 1.5 years. But when she was born, they had a rule in place that you got kicked out of the hospital in 24 hours. She was in intensive care.
Seriously, this is
and
like
I was kicked out.
I've got
And I
better
thought,
victims
this could
than you
never
do.
happen to any other
My
mom
victimhood
again.
is
So I
more
went to the
important than your
legislature.
victimhood. It's worse.
Our state legislator, not
Oh,
an
I should be
elected
president because I
official, and
understand
mom.
where you're
And
coming
I
from.
advocated for
Hold on,
one
let
of
me
the
count
first
my
laws in the
$100
country
bills.
guaranteeing new moms and their babies before
Let me
they're
fly
at the
overseas
hospital
to go,
stay. And when they
just
tried
lay in
to
my
delay
money.
the implementation of that law, I brought 6 pregnant friends to the conference committee, so they outnumbered the lobbyists 2-1. And when they said, when should it take place, they all raised their hand and said, now. That is what motivated me to go into public service. And when I got to that gridlock of Washington, D.C., and got to work and pass over 100 bills, and I know a lot of my friends here from the left, but remember, I am from the middle of the country. And I believe if we're going to get things done, that we have to have someone leading the ticket with grit. Someone's going to not just change the policies, but change the tone in the country, and someone who believes in America and believes it from their heart because of where they came from, that everyone should have that same opportunity.
Senator, thank you. Secretary
Oh, Lord.
Castro.
And thank you, George, to Jorge, to Lindsay, and to David, and to all of y'all for tuning in tonight. In many ways, I shouldn't be here on this stage. You know, gospel is my mother's name and was my grandmother's name before her. I grew up in a single-parent household on the west side of San Antonio, going to the public schools. Eventually, my brother Joaquin and I became the first in our family to become professionals.
Professionals. The first in our family not to be migrant workers.
I was making $100,000 a year in the year 2000. A few months later, I got elected to the San Antonio City Council, and the City Council at the time was only paying $1,040 a year. So everybody had another job, and my job was at the law firm. Well, a few months after I got elected,
so his message
law
is,
firm got a client.
I was
And the
making
client
six
wanted those of us on the
figures
city council
20
to
years
vote
ago,
for a land deal.
and then I went into
Land
public
deal
service,
was that they wanted to
and then I was making 6 figures plus a little bit more from.
I didn't think the Environmental Protection Plan was strong enough, so I wanted to vote against it, and my constituents wanted me to vote against it. But under the ethics rules for lawyers in Texas, because believe it or not, lawyers have ethics rules, you can't just go against the interests of a client, so I was stuck. On the one hand, I wanted to do the right thing. On the other hand, my livelihood, my student loans, my new house payment, my car payment depended on me shutting up, being conflicted out. So one day I walked into my law firm and I quit my job. And then I voted against that land deal on the city council. And, you know, it was the first test that I had, and I think back to that because oftentimes we think of politics and you think of politics as dirty or corrupting. I wondered before I went in it whether it would change who I was. And I was proud that when that first test came, that I stood up for the people that I was there to represent and not for big special interests. There's nobody that gets tested more in a position of public trust
Yeah,
than
I
the
would
President
want
of
to
the
fact
United
check
States. This president has failed that test. But I want you to know that if you elect me president, I won't. I won't serve anybody except you and your family. And together, we can create an America that's better than ever. Thank you very much.
Secretary Castro, thank you to all of our candidates. It was a great debate. I think we learned a lot tonight. Thanks to you.
Yeah, we learned
Thanks
that
to
you guys are a
Texas
bunch of
Southern University
self-pandering
for hosting us
fucking
tonight. It was a great
cocksmokers.
crowd as well, Ty. Thanks to you. Thanks to everyone at home. The debate is over. Our coverage continues with Tom Yamas.
All right, so.
And George, thank you. A great debate tonight with you and all of our terrific moderators.
Yeah, that was trash. I can't believe you made me fucking sit through most of that.
So much to watch right now, and we are going to be watching if Vice President Joe Biden and Secretary Castro.
Look at Kamala. You know they're calling each other, you fucking cocksucker. I'll fucking slash your throat, you motherfucker. Oh yeah, bring it, bitch. Anytime. Oh, I'll kill you. The big smiles on their faces.
I want to see. I want to see the bad lip reading version of
I
this.
just did it for you. I just did it. I did Kamala Harris. I will slit your throat, old man. What's up, fake Mexican? Oh, yeah. Talking your shit, using your fucking community's goddamn fucking... Oh, who's this? Kamala just got pushed by a black woman. Who's that?
That's her slave.
Oh, my God. That was terrible. That was terrible. Look at Jorge. Jorge, listen. I know there were tough questions, but I had to ask because you don't care for my people.
By the way, that spray on here.
That's great, right?
Can you hook me up?
It's the best spray on hair ever. Oh man, look at this. I can't believe I used to be a Democrat. I mean, I still have some, Democrat leanings. Don't get me wrong, but
No,
it's no longer.
There's some things that are, important that they fight for, like civil liberties and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
but you got to actually fight for them, and not just say that you fight for them. And that's very rare in my experience.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like the Grim Reaper and his brother. Like, what the hell is going on there? Like, I'm not being ageist. Those guys are old.
Yeah. No, you're not being ageist at all. No, you're calling it a spade, and I'm not being a racist when I say that. I forget, which one is he? Is he Joaquin or?
No, he's not Joaquin. Joaquin is his brother.
The one with the beard. Joaquin's the one with the beard. They look exactly alike, except one's got a beard.
Yeah, this is what's his name? Julio?
I don't know.
Something like
that. People that won't matter. Yeah, you go back into the background.
Yeah, I mean, the reason they're up here is if they actually win, then they might be eligible for like a cabinet post or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Unbelievable. Well, that was fun. Thank you for having me, and I'm gonna go take a massive dump now because well.
Because what else are you gonna do with all that stuff that you just ingested from this wonderful spectacle? All right, cool. Yeah, no, that was fun. That was cool. I'm glad that I was able to make it work, and woohoo, we still have somebody watching.
Yeah. Somebody, to that person, I salute you because this was fucking boring as fuck. we didn't do any fucking drinking games. We weren't near each other, so we couldn't punch each other. And there was, fucking something came up. So, yeah.
Yeah, we should totally do that though. That would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now I've kind of gotten the handle on doing the live stream shit. So we can do more of these, and that is excellent. So cool. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for being my guinea pig.
No problemo.
And watch out for that hurricane. I think it's going to hit you sometime.
It's going to come back, right? It's going to come back. It's coming back. It's coming back. Fuck it. We drank all the water, ate all the food. Fuck. And I'm going to give a little advice for you hurricane people. I don't have to worry about that. Invest in a Berkey water purifier. Because if the water does go bad, you still have water going through your faucet, a Berkey will filter out 99.9999% of any pathogens, viruses, or bacteria. Ta-da!
Sorry, I'm listening to my family doing something communal upstairs, and it's coming through on the mic. I'm not sure if it's coming through on the podcast, but
no, it's not coming there.
All right,
buddy.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
All right, take care. Thanks for having me.
You too. Thanks, man. Bye.
Shalom.
How the fuck do you turn this shit off?